Chapter 1598. Yang Wu always thought that the king of Hell's palace's monster was the demon's seed, but hearing what the divine mathematician and Taoist pig said, it seemed like the king of Hell's palace's monster was not the demon's seed, but rather the death god. It was in existence on the same level as the divine embryo and the demon's seed. These three strange beings would change the structure of the transcendent realm. The rise of the transcendent realm would attract all kinds of powerful beings, but there were very few that could compare to them. Who would become the ruler of the transcendent realm would need to undergo an intense competition before it could be determined. Would it be the divine embryo, the demon's seed, or the death god? Even the divine mathematician and Taoist pig did not have a clue. There were some things that were already out of their scope. However, Yang Wu said that Xie Tian was no longer in the transcendent realm, so he shouldn't be a threat to the transcendent realm. He also wouldn't be the demon's seed, but the divine mathematician was still certain that the demon's seed would harm the human world. If he went to the god realm, why would he harm the human world? Yang Wu emphasized. How do you know he went to the god realm? Why don't you think he went to another world? Taoist pig asked from the side. Yang Wu raised a brow and said in a voice of surprise, "That's right. Why didn't I think of this?" He always thought that Xie Tian had left and went to the god realm. Now that Taoist pig had reminded him, it was very likely that he went to another world. If it was like this, perhaps Xie Tian would come back one day. Now that the level of the transcendent realm had just increased, everything needed time to settle down before it would become better. As for the original higher realms, they had more mature resources. As long as he went there, he might be able to quickly increase his realm. He was born in the transcendent realm, so he will never be able to become the ruler of another world. However, when he becomes stronger and returns, perhaps he will be like you, receiving the approval of the transcendent realm's will and becoming the ruler of the transcendent realm. The divine mathematician said. After pausing for a bit, he said, "Now that the death god has appeared, we must make a move. This death god is even more terrifying than the divine embryo and the demon seed. After all, he was already planning this. Perhaps it was the king of hell from the king's palace. We can't let this tumor remain in this world." "What plan do you have?" Yang Wu asked. "What plan could you possibly have?" Master God Diviner said, shrugging. "You're going to use your name to suppress King Yama's palace. What plan could you possibly have?" "That's good," Taoist pig agreed. "Isn't this too shameless?" Yang Wu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. If you want the divine embryo and the devil seed to be fine, then you have to get rid of the Grim Reaper. Otherwise, they might not be able to defeat the Grim Reaper, Master God Diviner said. Yang Wu clapped and said, "Let's do it." There was no other way. When it came to Xie Tian's life or death, Yang Wu had no choice but to do it. The divine mathematician could not only predict the heavens and the earth, but he could also predict people's hearts. However, this matter had to be planned from a long-term perspective. It wasn't as simple as directly attacking Yama's palace. First, there had to be a convincing reason, and this reason was the Rose of Death. As long as the Rose of Death used their identity as a traitor of King Yama's palace to accuse Yama's palace of doing something that went against the heavens, everyone in the world would attack Yama's palace. At this point, even the Divine Divination House had to participate. They had a large influence and a large appeal, so as long as they announced this news, everyone in the world would believe them. At that time, what path would King Yama's palace have left? Yang Wu asked the Rose of Death for her opinion. She didn't care since she had already been abandoned by King Yama's palace. So if she didn't betray them now, when would she? The Rose of Death emphasized that the waters of King Yama's palace were very deep, and they seemed to have a large connection to the God realm, so they couldn't be impulsive. Yang Wu and Master God Diviner didn't care that much. Those giant powers, which one of them didn't have a connection to the God realm? If they didn't move against King Yama's palace because of this and allowed King Yama's palace to continue like this, giving birth to a Grim Reaper, then all life in the transcendent realm would be buried with it. Before that, they had to figure out the situation in the Death region and whether it had already become a land of death. Long ago, the Divine Divination House had already received some information, but they hadn't been able to send too many experts to the Death region. That was King Yama's palace's territory, So even the divine divination house was somewhat afraid. Now that Yang Wu could come and go as he pleased in the transcendent realm, this matter was naturally left to him. After he went to every place in the death region, he discovered that there were indeed many powerful life forms that were inexplicably killed and their corpses taken away. When Yang Wu saw people from King Yama's palace making a move on these life forms, he couldn't help but directly obliterate the team from King Yama's palace. King Yama's palace must be eliminated. Yang Wu secretly made up his mind. Under the manipulation of the divine divination house, rumors of a crusade against King Yama's palace were raised. First, the divine divination house released the news that most of the life forms in the death region were dead. Then, Yang Wu released the news of the betrayal of the Rose of Death, announcing the evil deeds of King Yama's palace to the world. He also claimed that King Yama's palace was planning to exterminate the life forms in other realms. They were brewing a plan to destroy the world. And if they weren't eliminated, King Yama's palace would plunge the transcendent realm into misery and suffering. When this news spread, it caused some criticism in various realms, but it didn't cause any big movements. The various powers were quite far away from the death region, so they couldn't sense the changes in the death region at all. Even if what the divine divination house said was true, it didn't seem to have anything to do with them. So why should they get involved in this muddy water? It had always been the bad habit of the human race to mind their own business. There were also some powers that had always believed in the divine divination house's news and responded to the divine divination house's call. In addition, the response of Yang Wu's call was greater than that of the divine divination house. Powers like the Xinyuan clan, Emperor's clan, Sun clan, Five Mountain sect, and other powers of the War clan were all willing to contribute. There were also some powers that were previously willing to ally with the Yang family, who were also willing to join in the crusade against King Yama's palace. Today, King Yama's palace is doing something that goes against the heavens and against humanity. They're using the lives of many living beings to nurture a ferocious death god. Most of the living beings in the death region have already been killed by them. If we don't kill this death god in advance, he'll devour even more lives. In the end, he'll devour all the living beings in the entire transcendent realm. When that time comes, no one will be his match. I, Yang Wu, earnestly request that everyone contribute to uproot King Yama's palace and eliminate the death god. Yang Wu's voice was mighty and mighty, spreading throughout the various realms of the transcendent realm. Every living being could hear it. This time, all the living beings were in an uproar. Yang Wu's move was too shocking. Even a divine-level expert wouldn't be able to do it. Could it be that Yang Wu had really become a god in the transcendent realm? He had borrowed the power of the transcendent realm's will and influenced the decisions of many living beings. Many living beings began to respond. The god has appeared. We must respect the god's will and get rid of King Yama's palace. I've long found King Yama's palace an eyesore. They should be removed from the transcendent realm. Yang Wu is the first saint in our human world. He has helped our transcendent realm to reach a higher level. His words are the god's decree. We should obey. From today onwards, there won't be a King Yama's palace anymore. King Yama's palace is an evil influence to begin with. However, they're too powerful and no one can do anything to them. Today, Lord Yang Wu has given the order. We'll contribute our efforts to suppress King Yama's palace. Suppress King Yama's palace. Just like that, living beings from all over the world, including humans, foreign races, demonic beasts, and many other influences, headed in the direction of King Yama's palace. Yang Wu's rallying power was too strong. More and more living beings rushed over, causing more and more commotion. Regardless of whether they were small saints or true saints, even heaven-reaching experts, all of them headed over. As the initiator, Yang Wu naturally brought the Black Tortoise and Azure Dragon armies of the Yang family to the Death Mountain Range. Logically speaking, the Yang family should seize the time to recuperate and strengthen themselves. However, they were rushing to fight against King Yama's palace. In the eyes of others, it was unwise. However, this was the first battle after Yang Wu became the first saint. Everyone wanted to see how capable Yang Wu was and how he suppressed the martial saints of other realms to become the first saint. This time, Yang Wu did not only have Yu Huaijin and Yu Chong and the two heaven-reaching experts by his side. Waguna and Wugu led a troop of 30,000 crows. The two giants, Gobi and Gore, could not sit still. They wanted to take this opportunity to see the transcendent realm scenery. The Yang family moved the fastest and fiercest. The other battle clans also brought their troops to support. The Sun family was the first to arrive. Sun Tiezhen brought a troop of 10,000 people to support them. It could be said that he was giving Yang Wu face. Elder Sun, thank you for your trouble, Yang Wu said gratefully after seeing Sun Tiezhen. Clan leader Yang Wu, you don't need to be so polite. It is our duty to deal with those evil forces, Sun Tiezhen said heroically. Yes, if it wasn't a tragic matter, I wouldn't ask everyone to do this. Believe me, King Yama's palace must be eliminated, Yang Wu said solemnly. Of course I believe you. Otherwise, I wouldn't have brought people here. Sun Tiezhen smiled. Not long after, the Empress's people also brought a troop of 10,000 people. After Sun Tiezhen saw this, he could not help but be surprised. He had always known that the Empresses and the Yang family had an alliance. However, he had never seen the Empress's people interact with the Yang family warmly. Now that he saw the Empress's heaven-reaching expert bring a troop of 10,000 people, he could confirm that the alliance was true. Yang Wu and heaven-reaching expert of the Empresses nodded and did not say anything. The Empress's alliance with the Yang family was not an agreement with the Yang family. It was Yang Wu who forced them to form an alliance. They wanted to change the side effects of their bloodline and had no choice but to ask him for help. The operation to eliminate King Yama's palace erupted. Chapter 1599. The King of Hell's palace was a giant force. They were an evil force, and it was unknown how many forces wanted to get rid of them. However, they were too powerful. Regardless of whether it was the heaven-reaching old monster or the saints, there were countless of them. They had gathered a large wave of evil spirits and were very powerful. There was once a first-rate force that offended the King of Hell's palace and was completely annihilated by the King of Hell's palace overnight. Since then, no force dared to provoke the King of Hell's palace. The King of Hell's palace kept a low profile. Other than a few evil people who did evil outside, the people in the King of Hell's palace rarely caused trouble elsewhere. It was enough for them to rule the Death region. Of course, if they wanted to kill someone, they would definitely not live past 5. There were exceptions, such as Yang Wu. He was still alive even after the King of Hell's decree was issued. It could only be said that Yang Wu had broken the rule. Now, Yang Wu had called for everyone to go against the King of Hell's palace. In the eyes of others, this was Yang Wu's revenge against the King of Hell's palace. The others did not care if Yang Wu had his own intentions. A giant force like the King of Hell's palace was not easy to deal with. However, it should not be difficult to eliminate them with the help of all the forces in the world. There was no need for Yang Wu to do it personally. Also, Xiang Dingtian from the Apothecary Alliance would not sit by and do nothing. With the help of the Divination Tower, everyone thought that they would succeed. When they charged towards the Death Mountain, the two kings of Hell from the King of Hell's palace led a large group of people to welcome them. King Yama Ox and King Yama Ma were two powerful overlords in the King of Hell's palace. They were second only to their palace master, King of Hell. King of Hell was a top figure on the same level as Xiang Dingtian. He had not fought for many years and was only ranked in the top 6. However, no one dared to underestimate him. After all these years of accumulation, he might already be comparable to the top 3 figures. King Yama Ox and King Yama Ma led 1,000,000 evil and fierce bandits and waited for battle. They looked like they were going to fight with all the forces in the world. Usually, no living beings dared to come near their territory. Today, it was so lively that they were a little nervous. However, they could not disobey the orders of King of Hell. They could only brace themselves. There were not only 1,000,000 soldiers here, but also many different living beings. They formed a strong defense line and sealed every corner of the Death Mountain. These creatures were all races controlled by the king of Hell's palace over the years. There were foreign races, demons, and beast tamers among them as well. Their numbers had reached 3 million. This was the powerful foundation of a major force. If anyone dared to touch them, it would be a situation where they would fight to the death. Yang Wu stood on the silver-patterned tortoise with Yang Ba on his left and Su Chu on his right. Behind them were Wan Lan Xin, Shu Yujun, Lu Ji, Nan Nan, white-haired Demonis, Yang Chao Wei, and other powerful saints. Army, army, army. Army, army. This number was still far from the king of Hell's palace. However, these 100,000 soldiers were all elites with great battle prowess. Each one of them could fight against 100. In addition, there were close to 100 other powerful forces. Each force had more than 10,000 people. In total, there were 1 million people. Among them, the Xianyuan clan sent the most people. Like the Yang clan, they sent 100,000 soldiers to help Yang Wu. They gave enough face. Xianyuan Hou came in person. Yang Wu also saw Xianyuan Yujun. This woman who had mistaken him for Yang Baiqiang seemed to have returned to the Xianyuan clan. Xianyuan Yujun's face was covered, and her aura was completely restrained. No one knew how strong she was. Yang Wu knew that this woman, who had the power of the divine chain, was not to be underestimated. She might be an important weapon to deal with the death god in the blood pit. Xiang Dingtian also brought a dozen heaven-reaching old monsters. They hid in the void and would not show themselves easily. Once they appeared, it would be the time for an all-out war. With Yang Wu at the head, the 1 million soldiers gathered in front of the Death Mountain. The two armies faced each other. Yama Ox said loudly, "Leave immediately. Otherwise, it will be seen as the most serious provocation. Anyone who attacks my king of Hell's palace will be killed without mercy. They have already forced us to the door. Why are we still talking nonsense with them? Let's just kill them and complete the mission king of Hell gave us." Yama Ma crossed his arms in front of his chest. "Your king of Hell's palace is inhumane. You have killed countless lives. Today, I, Yang Wu, with the power of the transcendent world's will lead many heroes to suppress your king of Hell's palace. If you know what's good for you, surrender quickly and turn over a new leaf. I can give you a way out. Otherwise, today will be the day your souls die." Yang Wu said loudly. "Yang Wu, do you really think that you can disregard our king of Hell's palace just because you have become the greatest saint? I will kill you now." Yama Ma shouted and took out a divine weapon. A cold arrow shot towards Yang Wu's direction. "God-slaying crossbow. You are not qualified to use an arrow in front of my queen's family." An old god of archers from the queen's family rushed out and shot an arrow like a meteor towards Yama Ma's arrow. However, Yama Ma's arrow was extraordinary. It was a high-grade divine weapon and had a spirit. When the arrow of the old god of archers from the queen's family arrived, the arrow actually curved and bypassed the old god of archers' arrow and continued to shoot towards Yang Wu's direction. The speed of the arrow was too fast. Everyone only saw a flash of gray light, and it had already landed in front of Yang Wu. Yama Ma had the strength of an Overlord-class expert. If this arrow landed on Yang Wu, would Yang Wu still have a way out? However, Yang Wu did not lack Overlord-class experts. Yu Huaijin immediately rushed out and broke the arrow. Clank! Sparks flew, and the arrow fell to the ground. "You want to murder my young master? How could it be so easy?" The incomparably enchanting Yu Huaijin appeared and flew towards Yama Ma's direction. Now, she had already received Yang Wu's favor and repaired all of her soul. She was no longer under Yang Wu's control. However, she was still willing to work for Yang Wu. After all, Yang Wu had already received the recognition of the transcendent realm and became half a god. In this world, there was no one who could do anything to Yang Wu. Yu Huaijin knew that Yang Wu was also a disciple in name of the Medicine God Palace's venerable immortal. In the future, when he went to the divine world and joined the Medicine God Palace, he would definitely achieve meteoric success. His status would most likely be higher than hers. So what if she worked for him one last time? This little girl's skin is really not bad. Looking at her, I can't bear to kill you. Yama Ma said as he waved his arm and said loudly, Kill all these people who trespassed into the Death Mountain range. On the other side, Yang Wu also ordered, the people of Yama Palace are guilty of heinous crimes. None of them can be let off. Everyone, attack together and return the Death Domain to a pure land. Following Yang Wu's order, all the living beings in the surroundings began to move. This battle was a battle without much nonsense. In the eyes of both sides, it was a battle to the death. Yang Wu represented the will of the transcendent realm and the many forces to eliminate Yama Palace. Yama Palace was the one who was defending and was unwilling to back down. Naturally, they would fight to the death. The number of soldiers on Yang Wu's side seemed to be about the same as that of King of Hell's Palace. In fact, there were more than 10 million soldiers rushing over one after another. These soldiers came from distant domains. Moreover, they were all watching the progress of this battle. Once Yang Wu was determined enough, they would throw themselves into the battle with all their might. In an instant, the battle cries were heard as the million-strong army fought in a frenzy. This was the territory of the King of Hell's Palace, so they were naturally prepared. A terrifying death array was activated, and waves of divine power blasted towards the living beings on Yang Wu's side. A terrifying death aura swept out in all directions. This power was enough to give many living beings a headache. Yang Wu's side was not unprepared. The divination tower took out a divine map, and divine light filled the sky, suppressing the death aura and resisting the suppression. Capture the leader first to capture the bandits. Wait for me to capture their Yama. Xiang Dingtian, who was in the void, shouted and flew towards the depths of the Death Mountain range. Xiang Dingtian was an expert ranked in the top 10 of the Overlord ranking. He was extremely powerful. In the blink of an eye, he landed on the top of the Death Mountain range and slammed a fiery palm towards the Death Mountain range. The palm shadow that was filled with monstrous firepower fell down like a natural disaster. Its power was extremely terrifying. At the same time, a black palm print came up. Bang! Those who offend Yama Palace will be killed. A black shadow flew out and collided with Xiang Dingtian. This was the super strong foundation of Yama Palace, and also the reason why they were able to stand strong until now. On the other side, an overlord from the Xianyuan tribe was fighting with Yama Ox. Yu Huijin was fighting with Yama Ma. Grand Tutor Zhua from the Five Mountain sect was also challenging another overlord from Yama Palace. Grand Tutor Zhua came from Mount Song and had originally decided not to come out of seclusion. However, after Yang Wu became the chosen one, he quickly acknowledged Shu Yu as the alliance leader and was willing to work for Yang Wu. Yang Wu's potential was too strong, and it was not a loss to bet on him. Grand Tutor Zhua's temperament was indeed extraordinary. In addition, the experts from Mount Song, Shaolin Temple, Wudong, and other overlords all moved and fought with Yama Palace. Yang Wu rode the silver-patterned tortoise and did not stay idle. He charged towards the center of the Death Mountain range. He opened his soul eye and looked at the flaws of the divine array. He held the black walk and smashed it madly. While the divine map was suppressing the divine array, he broke the divine array. Lu Ji also opened his yin-yang pupil and broke the divine array with Yang Wu. The death chi here was extremely dense. Any living being that came in contact with it would have their lifespan affected. They had to suppress the death chi. How could Yama Palace allow them to break the divine array so easily? Three seemingly ordinary overlords suddenly erupted with divine realm strength and charged towards Yang Wu. These three overlords hid their strength very well. In the eyes of others, they only had the strength of a minor saint. However, they suddenly attacked and took out a terrifying killing weapon, putting Yang Wu in danger. Sky Shield, Earth Cone, Human Pincer. Chapter 1600. Heaven, Earth, and Man Tripartite God-Killing Formation. These three divine masters weren't weak, but it wouldn't be easy for them to kill Yang Wu. However, they had ancient divine weapons in their hands, which were treasured divine items from the King of Hell's Palace. They had all been summoned to form the tripartite, God-killing formation to seal Yang Wu. How could Yang Wu withstand it? The sky shield came down, and Yang Wu had nowhere to hide. The earth spike shot up from the ground and went straight for Yang Wu's vitals. The man pincer came at him from the waist, sealing off all of Yang Wu's escape routes. Yang Wu had already thrown out the black pot, and it was too late for him to pull it back and block it. He could only block it with his strength. The black tortoise battle armor appeared on his body, and he pulled out the Big Dipper sword and slashed left and right. Boom, boom, boom. A series of saber lights and sword shadows exploded together. Yang Wu's defensive battle armor was destroyed, and the earth spike pierced his thigh, but it was blocked by the Emperor Jade battle armor. The man pincer was blocked by the Big Dipper sword, and the sky shield fell on Yang Wu's head, wanting to turn Yang Wu's head into a pool of blood. Yang Wu's soul, I stared at the divine master controlling the sky shield, and a terrifying soul-destroying power forcibly broke into the other party's divine cord, killing his soul directly. At the same time, the nether ice wing blade flew out and cut the other party's body in half. The divine master controlling the sky shield didn't expect Yang Wu's talent to be so strong, and he was killed on the spot. The sky shield lost its power, and the pressure on Yang Wu was greatly relieved. The nether ice wing blade slashed at the divine master controlling the earth spike, and his soul I shot at the divine master controlling the man pincer. At the same time, Yang Wu unleashed the star-swallowing sword Dao, and a majestic sword Qi swept out in all directions, killing the two people in front of him on the spot. Yang Wu's combat strength was comparable to an overlord-class expert, and he wasn't someone they could kill at any time. As soon as he killed the 3 invincible heavens, 8 more puppets rushed toward him and self-detonated at the same time. This was still a god-grade puppet. It was a life form from the demon race. The power of their self-explosion was extremely terrifying. Even Yu Chang, and who was not far from Yang Wu's side, had a change in expression. He loudly shouted, "Patriarch!" Yang Wu had experienced such self-detonations many times, so how could he not react? At the moment when the puppets self-detonated, he had already teleported away with the help of the transcendent world's will. It could be said that in this world, he could teleport as he wished. No one could stop him. These people are just stalling for time here, so that we can quickly enter the heart of the Death Mountain Range, Yang Wu roared. In the next moment, he kept changing his position. The Big Dipper sword in his hand kept reaping the lives of the evil cultivators here. The King of Hell's palace had millions of people, and there were also millions of other life forms. Unfortunately, compared to the millions of elites on Yang Wu's side, they were still far inferior. The experts sent by each side were all above minor saint realm, and there was no lack of saints and invincible old monsters. The number of experts was the key to victory. Yang Wu's side completely suppressed the people of King of Hell's palace, forcing the people of King of Hell's palace to retreat step by step. They were closing in on the heart of the Death Mountain Range. However, no one noticed that the more people died here, the denser the death chi was. The blood that fell to the ground also quietly seeped into the ground and disappeared. It was quite strange. Everyone was fighting with their lives on the line. How could they have the time to care about this matter? Even Yang Wu didn't have the time to care about it. His mind was constantly thinking about how to bring everyone to the heart of the Death Mountain Range and destroy the Blood Pit. In the heart of the Death Mountain Range, the blood chi in the blood pit became denser and denser. A blood shadow slowly appeared and finally condensed into a blood infant full of evil chi. The blood infant sneered and said, "Haha, my second physical body has finally condensed. It's all thanks to the Chosen One." At this moment, all the corpses in this space floated up. Countless blood chi and death chi gathered towards the blood infant, forming an extremely terrifying vision. After the blood infant came out, another person wearing a sinister mask came out of the blood pit and said faintly, "Now is not the time for you to be born." Of course I know, but I don't want to wait any longer. There's a lot of blood waiting for me to devour. I'm a master of this world. The blood infant revealed a fanatical look. The masked man slapped the blood infant and shouted, "The nucleus of the human world is what you want to seize. With the power of the nucleus, you will be the god of the human world. Even the invincible existences in the god realm and the immortal realm are not as powerful as the god of a world. Don't ruin things for me. Old man, you are really a wet blanket. Quickly go and deal with those guys outside. I want to drink blood. The blood infant responded. Deal with my ass. If they want to destroy Yama's palace, then let them. There is no use staying here now. Let's go. The masked man pulled the blood infant and quickly left. The blood infant shouted, What's the hurry? If we leave like this, they will keep chasing us. We have to leave some backup plans. You don't need to worry about that. When they attack here, there will naturally be backup plans waiting for them. When the people of Yama's palace were retreating, the forces that were watching from afar took the opportunity to attack. They joined Yang Wu's army and wiped out Yama's palace together. Yama's palace was a giant level force. The place where they were located must have rich resources. Now that Yama's palace was gone, those resources naturally belonged to them. The evil people of Yama's palace did not retreat immediately. Instead, they fought until the end. We, the people of Yama's palace, have never been afraid of anyone. Whoever wants to enter the mountain range will have to step over my body. You bastards. In the past, when you saw us, it was as if you had encountered a jinx. You would scram as far as you can. Now, you dare come over and shit on our heads? You really don't know what's good for you. I, the evil saint, am not someone you can hurt. I will kill you all. Since my debut, I have slaughtered 108,000 people. Even if I die here today, it will be worth it. In the end, these evil people were slaughtered one by one. Only a few wanted to escape, but they were all surrounded by the army. No one could escape. For example, Yama Ox and Yama Ma could not hold on any longer. Even if there were many old immortals in Yama's palace, they could not withstand the attacks of Yu Huaijin, Xiang Dingtian, Grand Tutor Zhua, and the other overlords. These Yama's palace experts knew that they could not withstand it. They all retreated and activated the divine array to stop the encirclement. Yama's palace was like a dragon's pool and a tiger's den. After the divine array was activated, it released a terrifying destructive power in a large area, taking away hundreds of thousands of lives. Come, I want all of you to die with me. Yama Ox roared with a crazed look. Amipa, Yama's palace has sinned too much. Today, we cannot let you all live. An old Buddha from Shaolin smashed down with a golden alms bowl. A few old monks beside him also used their strength to activate the alms bowl to break the array. At the same time, Wudong Side also took out the Tai Chi diagram. Under the cooperation of many Tongtian experts, they also suppressed the mountain range. Xin Yuan clan also sent out their divine items. Sun Family, Five Mountain Sect, and other powerful forces also sent out their divine items to attack the divine array. These divine arrays were powerful. However, under the joint attack of so many overlords, they finally collapsed. Yama Ox, Yama Ma, and the others knew that they could not hold on any longer. Since Yama did not come out, they could only escape. They were the deputy palace masters of Yama's palace. However, it did not mean that they would die with Yama's palace. Since there were people who could not live under the same sky with them, they naturally had to go after them. Yang Wu did not have time to care about them. He brought Yu Huaijin and killed his way into the Death Mountain range. The people of Yama's palace were slaughtered. In the end, they could not do anything. Yang Wu and the others went straight in. They broke through layers of restrictions and came to the blood pit. There were still corpses everywhere. The people around were shocked. Bastards, these bastards are worse than pigs and dogs. Xiang Dingtian scolded. There were mountains of corpses. No matter who saw it, they would be angry. What is Yama's palace trying to do? There are at least 10 million corpses here. I am afraid that is not all of them. Many of them have already decayed. Sun Tiezhen sighed. Except for the blood pit. Grand Tutor was said softly. Then, he took the lead and slapped towards the blood pit. Grand Preceptor Zhuo was very powerful. It was not difficult for him to destroy the blood pit. However, when his palm was about to land on the blood pit, a blood palm flew out first. Not only did it block his palm power, but it also slammed towards them. This shocking blood palm was extremely overbearing. It was not something that ordinary people could block. Watch out, Xiang Dingtian shouted. He brought along a raging fire to meet the blood palm. Bang! Xiang Dingtian was still stronger than Grand Tutor's Wa. He blocked the blood palm. How dare you break into Yama's palace? All of you will die. A hoarse voice resounded. A dreadful death chi swept out in all directions. Those corpses suddenly came to life and rushed towards the living beings in this area to kill them. This was a place of purgatory. Everyone felt like they were in hell. Those who were timid were scared out of their wits. Those who attacked here were all heaven-reaching old monsters. The weakest ones were saints. They still had the power to protect themselves. However, these corpses were just a bait. The real killing move was the terrifying formation here. Corpse chi and death chi gathered into blades and slashed towards everyone present. Everyone, watch out, Yang Wu shouted. However, he was still a little too slow. Some of the weaker saints and some heavenly sovereigns were drowned by the formation, and their bodies were pierced by countless corpse auras and sharp arrows. They screamed miserably and fell to the ground. Soon, their vitality was taken away, and they died on the spot. Don't waste any more time. Kill this guy. Sun Jinjin shouted. Kill. Xiang Dingtian shouted. He raised the cauldron and slammed it into the blood pit. Yu Huijin also raised his scimitar and slashed towards the blood pit. A crimson shadow soared into the sky, carrying a crimson spear to meet the attack. This person was wearing a mask. It was Yama from Yama's palace. He was powerful. When the blood spear danced, the Tao of death was completely released. It made people feel the suffocating smell of death. Countless death chi turned into spears and blocked the attacks of Xiang Dingtian and Yu Huijin. This was a battle between top overlords. Chapter 1601. Was it Hades who was left in the blood pit? Neither Yang Wu nor Lu Ji dared to deny it. If it wasn't Hades, how could he have such shocking fighting power? He was using the power here to fight Xiang Dingtian and Yu Huijin. He wasn't at a disadvantage, and he seemed to have the upper hand. Hades was too domineering. Every move he made could trigger the way of death. Boundless death chi formed a death chi field, and all living things that got close to it would die. The living things that came overhead all retreated far away. Even Yang Wu didn't dare to get close. He had a divine weapon, and he could fight against an overlord. However, compared to a top-tier overlord, he was still far from it. Pooh! Pooh! Xiang Dingtian and Yu Huijin flew out at the same time, and they both spat out blood. They were no match for Hades. Yu Huijin screamed, God chain power. He's just a half-step true god. Take him down. Xiang Dingtian shouted unwillingly, and all of his power went into the medicine cauldron. The medicine cauldron kept getting bigger, and then it turned into a cauldron that attacked Hades. Yu Huijin didn't dare to be slow either. He raised his scimitar and attacked. The scimitar power was like a crescent moon. The overlord's power was terrifying. The space all around started to shake, and the area affected was getting bigger and bigger. Xiang Dingtian and Yu Huijin tried their best, but they couldn't suppress Hades' power. Hades had the advantage of location, and he could use countless death chi to increase his fighting power. The two of them were forced back again. Even Xiang Dingtian's medicine cauldron was slapped away, and it became dim. Yu Huijin was stabbed by a spear, and blood kept oozing out. You don't know your place. I'll kill you all, Hades shouted, and continued to attack with his blood spear. All of you stand down. A beautiful figure flew over and shouted. In the next moment, many rocks fell from the sky, and they smashed towards Hades. These rocks were like meteorites, and their speed and power were overbearing. Ordinary people couldn't block them. You think I'm scared of you? Hades shouted, and his blood spear stabbed towards the rocks. However, this time, blood spear was obstructed and forced back by these rocks. Everyone could only see a beautiful figure dashing towards the battlefield. Her entire body was surrounded by a golden aura. Both of her fists punched out continuously. The domineering fist force shrouded downwards. The power was astonishing and frightening. Only a few people could see that this woman's fist power also contained the power of the God Chain. Once one comprehended the power of the God Chain, it was equivalent to having half a foot into the true God realm. Their power was extremely terrifying. Xiang Dingtian and Yu Huijin both retreated. Even they couldn't intervene in the battle. She's from the Xianyuan family? Xiang Dingtian murmured with a frown. Yang Wu replied, she is Xianyuan Yujun. Xiang Dingtian thought for a while and said, never heard of it. 1,000 years ago, Xianyuan Yujun was indeed a genius, but she wasn't qualified to catch Xiang Dingtian's eye. In the 800 years she spent in the Tomb of War, her strength had increased instead of regressing. After comprehending the power of the divine chains, her strength had reached the level of an overlord. Combined with the power of the divine chains, she was more than enough to deal with Yama. Everyone was curious about Xianyuan Yujun's identity. She was definitely an invincible expert. When they heard that she was from the Xianyuan family, they all understood. Only such an ancient clan could nurture such an outstanding expert. They thought that Xianyuan Yujun and Yama would have a life and death battle. But not long after, they saw Xianyuan Yujun shatter Yama on the spot. Xianyuan Yujun didn't have it easy either. Yama had several bloody holes in her body, and she looked extremely ferocious. Death Chi also wrapped around her body, devouring her life force. Every living being was completely stunned. How could the arrogant Yama be smashed to death by a few rotten rocks? Only Yang Wu knew that those rocks were made of the God Chain. Their power was terrifying. Yama is dead. There's no need for this place to exist. Xianyuan Yujun ignored the injuries on her body and said. The stone shook again and smashed in all directions. Pung, pung. This forbidden space was directly smashed by Xianyuan Yujun. The other creatures came to their senses and began to destroy this place as well. Most of them rushed towards Yama's palace to seize the treasures of Yama's palace. Yama's palace had existed for many years and left behind countless treasures. This was what they coveted. Many forces came with the idea of fishing in troubled waters. Now that there was such a good opportunity, how could they let it go? For the treasures of Yama's palace, these people once again fought in a chaotic battle. Yang Wu wasn't interested in this. Borrowing the power of the transcendent world's will, he announced loudly, Yama's palace will be removed from this place. When he announced this, he still felt that it was a little unreal. Although he had borrowed a lot of power to wipe out Yama's palace and had indeed destroyed it, he still felt a little uneasy in his heart. As a powerful force that had existed for millions of years, how could it have such a weak foundation? He suspected that before they came to attack Yama's palace had already made arrangements to retreat. Yama Ox, Yama Ma, and the others were just lulling them. He let Yu Huaijin rush into the blood pit to search, but he didn't find anything out of the ordinary. He could only bring the Yang clan's army back. After Yang Wu called for so many experts to destroy Yama's palace, the forces that had grudges with Yang Wu started to panic. If Yang Wu called for so many experts to deal with them, would they still have a chance to live? These enemies included the Purple Cloud Palace, the Xing clan, and other major forces, especially the Xing clan. Although they had the Lu clan as an ally, after the rise of the Yang clan, they slowly became weaker. These people were thinking of ways to repair their relationship with the Yang clan. Otherwise, it would be hard to say what would happen in the future. For this matter, they begged the Xianyuan clan, hoping that the Xianyuan clan would help them settle this matter. The Xianyuan clan was the leader of the 8 great battle clans. If they couldn't settle this matter, then it wouldn't be good. The Xianyuan clan wasn't a peacemaker either. Back when the Xing clan was aggressive towards the Yang clan, they didn't help the Yang clan at all. Now that the Yang clan had risen, they didn't have much reason to speak for the Xing clan. Everything depended on Yang Wu. Many forces were actually waiting for Yang Wu to leave the transcendent world. After destroying Yama's palace, Yang Wu returned to the fortune-telling tower and asked the 2 fortune tellers to calculate Death God's situation. He was afraid that Death God wasn't dead yet. Under the combined efforts of the fortune teller and Zhu Daoist, the result was unexpected. They couldn't calculate Death God's situation. It was as if there was a power that had blinded the heavens. Yang Wu didn't force them. He didn't stay there for long. He returned to the Yang clan and started to organize the affairs of the clan. He also chose a new clan leader. After he left, he could take up the role of the Yang clan's pillar. Now, the Yang clan's power had been established. There were many people who could be the pillars of the clan. However, there weren't many who wanted to take up the role of clan leader. The main reason was that they were still young and couldn't take up the responsibility. Just as Yang Wu was thinking about this, Shu Yujun reminded him, "My husband took up the role of clan leader at such a young age. How can others not take up the role? Do you think that no one in the clan can compare to you?" Shu Yujun's words woke Yang Wu up. Indeed, Yang Wu wasn't the only lucky person in the world. There were many lucky people who were as smart as he was. For example, Yang Zixing was the new incarnation of Yang Jinghai. He was also a god's fetus. He had a bright future. If he were to take up the role of clan leader, it would be like passing the position back to him. He was a most suitable candidate. All this time, Yang Wu felt that Yang Zixing was still childish and couldn't take up the role of clan leader. Now that he had calmed down, perhaps letting Yang Zixing take up the role of clan leader could help him awaken the memories of his previous life. Thinking of this, Yang Wu talked to Gong Silan. Gong Silan pondered for a moment and also felt that Yang Zixing was the most suitable candidate. However, there was no rush to announce this matter. They still had to observe for a while. In addition, the Yang clan had Yang Tianlin as a backup candidate and Yang Qinghu as a rising star. The Yang clan had a successor. Even if Yang Wu left, they wouldn't have to worry. As for the grudge with the Purple Cloud Hall, Yang Wu had already put it behind him. However, he still hadn't put down the grudge with the Xing clan. He felt that he had to pay a visit to the Xing clan. Over the years, the Xing clan hadn't declined. It was just that as the Yang clan rose in power, their powers seemed to have decreased. Yang Wu didn't think of using other powers to deal with the Xing clan. This was an internal matter of the War clan. How could he allow others to interfere? Time was of the essence. If he wanted to deal with the Xing clan, it wouldn't be done in a day. It would take 100 years for the Yang clan to become stronger. Since that was the case, he planned to buy 100 years for the Yang clan. He definitely wouldn't give the Xing clan the chance to be arrogant. Thinking of this, he teleported to the Xing clan's territory. He wanted to destroy the Xing clan's fire territory and break the Xing clan's foundation. In the past, his master had brought him to this fire territory and obtained the corrosive fire mystic essence from here. This proved that this fire territory was extraordinary. Now that he was here again, he still felt that this fire territory was extraordinary. The origin of this black flame was probably extraordinary. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been able to burn here without extinguishing. Yang Wu didn't have the ability to absorb all of this fire territory, but he could use the extraordinary world's willpower to disperse the fire territory's power and destroy its foundation. When the extraordinary world's level increased, this fire territory also benefited a lot. Its power increased by a lot. Yang Wu stood in front of this fire territory and mumbled, "Let's replenish Lan Yao's power first. Then, let this fire territory's power disappear completely." In the next moment, he used the extraordinary world's willpower to affect the fire territory's environment. The ground suddenly cracked. It was like an earthquake. It was unexpected. Boom, boom, boom. The fire territory had a god-level restriction power. Normally, it wouldn't be damaged, not even by an earthquake. However, Yang Wu used the power of heaven and earth. It was the power of a god spirit. It wasn't difficult for him to change the terrain. At the same time, Lan Yao was crazily absorbing the thick power. The Xing clan's people in the fire territory panicked. Some were killed, some were injured, and some were interrupted when they were about to break through. This was a disaster for the Xing clan. Chapter 1602. The fire area was an important place for the Xing family. It was the place where they had cultivated for generations. Anyone who could benefit from it would have a meteoric rise. Now, the fire field had broken through the tremors, and the firepower was spreading in all directions. It was also burning toward the land of the Xing family, taking away many lives. Why is the Xing fire coming out? I can't take it. This is the holy fire from the 5th level. Only a saint can withstand it. Run. Something's wrong. The fire area is changing. Is something being born? Is this some kind of natural disaster? I can feel the ground shaking. Where's the god array? Hurry up and activate our clan's divine formation to protect our child. The Xing family was in chaos. Some of the weaker ones were burned to death, while others were killed by the shaking. The Xing family was panicking. The Xing family's invincible elites all came out. They used their invincible skills to imprison the Xing fire. Many saints tried to control the Xing fire's power, but the earthquake was too sudden. The fire area Xing fire had been accumulating Xing fire for many years. It was not something they could control in a short amount of time. An elder of the Xing family shouted, "Everyone, seal the fire area and seal the space. Who is it that dares to go against my Xing clan and break our restrictions? I will not live under the same sky as him." Another person shouted, "Now is not the time to find out. Seal the fire area. It's getting bigger and bigger. If this continues, we won't be able to control it. Activate the God Array. We can't let anything happen." The Xing clan's heaven-reaching realm cultivators reacted quickly. Unfortunately, no matter what they did, the restrictions of the Blaze domain were completely destroyed. The fire seed in the center of the Blaze domain was completely out of control. It was impossible for them to suppress the Blaze domain in a short time. Yang Wu was hiding in space, watching all of this calmly. He sighed and thought, "It's not that I don't want to take revenge. It's just that the time is not right. Wait for me to strip you of your fate, Qi." He pointed directly at the Xing family's billowing providence. 70% of the nearly 10,000 feet of purple providence was instantly taken away. The Xing family members felt their hearts sink, as if something was pressing down on their heads. Some martial artists who were about to break through suddenly lost the opportunity to break through. The children also became much duller. "It's over. Our aura pillar has dropped so much. It must be Yang Wu's doing. It must be him. He's back for revenge," the elder of the Xing family exclaimed. "Damn it. He's trying to destroy the foundation of our race that has lasted for 10,000 years. We swear that we can't coexist with him. Is he going to attack the Xing family? We can't let him succeed." Yang Wu did not exterminate the Xing clan. He wanted to keep the Xing clan alive and use this opportunity to spur the Yang clan to become stronger. If he were to eradicate the Xing clan, not only would it go against the heavens, it would also push the Yang clan to the cusp of the storm. When that time came, there might be more forces that would submit to the Yang clan, but once he left, the Yang clan would most likely fall into chaos. Now that he had destroyed the foundation of the Xing family would be depressed for a period of time. The Yang family, with their many resources, would take the opportunity to rise. The people of the Xing family didn't know that Yang Wu was still kind to them. They had been living in fear, constantly on guard against the sudden attack of the Yang family, which would lead to the rapid decline of the Xing family. After Yang Wu visited the Xing family, he went to the Lu family. He also caused a few natural disasters in the Lu family. Many people died, and some important cultivation grounds were destroyed. The immortal realm experts of the Lu family were shocked. Unfortunately, they didn't know what was going on. They all guessed that it had something to do with Yang Wu. However, they didn't see Yang Wu, which caused them to panic. Was Yang Wu really going to destroy them? With Yang Wu's current influence, it would be easy for him to do so. On the same day, the Xing and Lu families suffered different degrees of heavenly punishment. The news quickly spread. Some people thought that Yang Wu was taking revenge. Others thought that the two families had dealt with Yang Wu before, and it was time for retribution. No matter what, the Xing and Lu families were isolated. The other families and forces temporarily distanced themselves from them. At this time, Yang Wu had already appeared in the Li family's territory. Yang Wu walked towards the Li family as if there was no one around. He said loudly, "Li family's grand elder, come out and meet me. Yang Wu is here." There is probably no one else who could barge into an ancient family like Yang Wu. The people of the Li family panicked. They didn't even know that Yang Wu had come personally. Could it be that Yang Wu had reached the level of omnipotence? Several powerful auras shot out from the Li family's forbidden area. Each and every one of them was an ingress expert. So it's Patriarch Yang Wu, one of the undying old men, said courteously, cupping his hands. "Forgive me for not coming out to meet you. Yang Wu, what are you trying to do by barging into the Li family?" A hot-tempered ingress shouted. All of a sudden, 6 ingress experts had appeared in the Leaf family, and all of them were at least mid-level Jade Moon. This was the strength of the Leaf family. The oldest of them had once been an overlord, but he hadn't appeared in public for many years. That was why his reputation had gradually faded. Yang Wu looked calmly at the ingress experts of the Leaf family. "Submit to the Yang family," he said coolly. "Bullsh asterisk T. How dare you? You deserve death." The ingress experts of the Leaf family were furious. In the past, they had allied with the Yang family and taken advantage of them. Not only had they taken over the Yang family cities, but they had also gained a lot of benefits. They had even been considered allies. In truth, it was the Yang family who had asked the Leaf family for an alliance. In the past few years, after the Yang family had risen, they had taken back their lost territories and gained some advantage. But wanting the Leaf family to submit to them was a fool's dream. Moreover, the 8 great battle clans of the battle race world had always been on equal footing. Even when the Yang family had declined, no one had thought of making them submit. Only the Xing family had wanted to wipe them out. And now, Yang Wu wanted the Leaf family to submit to the Yang family. This request was too much. These ingress experts locked onto Yang Wu, ready to kill Yang Wu at any time. Yang Wu looked at them calmly and smiled. "Reduce the xianqi of heaven and earth here by 30%. His words faintly contained a trace of unimaginable heavenly might. In an instant, the xianqi of heaven and earth in the Li clan's territory actually dispersed from here. Even the divine formation could gather the xianqi of heaven and earth again, and the xianqi of heaven and earth flew toward another place. The strength of these divine master powerhouses was astonishing, and their perception was astonishing. They immediately sensed this strange change, and their old faces revealed incomparable shock. What's going on? Why is the xianqi of heaven and earth in our clan rapidly dissipating? Impossible. Yang Wu, how did you do it? What kind of demonic technique did you use? Our clan's luck is decreasing. Not good. This is destroying our clan's foundation. The ingress experts of the Leaf family were all panicking. Their territory was the best place for cultivation, which was why the Leaf family had produced so many talents. But now, the xianqi of heaven and earth was dissipating, and their luck was decreasing. This was a sign of defeat. They looked at the calm Yang Wu and instantly felt their hair stand on end. Could it be that Yang Wu had really done all this? Was this the legendary divine spirit's word of law? "I'll kill you." The ingress expert with the most explosive temper shouted and charged towards Yang Wu. He had been accumulating his strength for a long time, and when he attacked, it was earth-shattering. He did not give Yang Wu any chance to escape. However, Yang Wu did not escape at all. When he attacked, Yang Wu counterattacked. Starlight. With a punch, starlight overflowed. It was as if a strange phenomenon was descending, and it was unusually domineering. The fist and palm collided, and in an instant, the earth and mountains shook. The entire family seemed to be experiencing an earthquake, and everyone was shocked. After this move, Yang Wu did not retreat at all. Instead, it was the ingress expert of the Leaf family who was sent flying far away, and he spat out blood. That mid-level ingress expert was no match for Yang Wu. When the ingress expert of the Leaf family saw this scene, his eyes twitched. He exclaimed in his heart, "Yang Wu is so strong." They knew that the title of the world's #1 martial saint was not undeserved, but this was still ridiculously strong. "If you dare to use force, you will end up like the Xing and Lu families," Yang Wu said faintly. Not only had the Xing and Lu families suffered an inexplicable natural disaster, but their luck and xianqi of heaven and earth had decreased by more than 70%. The people who cultivated in the lands of these two families would only find it harder and harder to advance. Even their descendants would become weaker and weaker, and eventually disappear in the long river of history. It was no wonder that Yang Wu was so ruthless. These two families had once wanted to wipe out the Yang family in one fell swoop. Now, he had given them a way out. Otherwise, he could have drained all of their luck and caused them to decline rapidly. As for the disappearance of the Xing and Lu families, The Leaf family had not received word so quickly. Yang Wu had given them 3 days to think about it. Just like that, he disappeared into thin air from the Leaf family's lands. The ingress expert of the Leaf family was completely flustered. "Quick, go and see what happened to the Xing and Lu families," the old man of the Leaf family ordered. Thus, the ingress experts of the Leaf family flew towards the two families, wanting to know what had happened. Soon, they learned what had happened to the Xing and Lu families, and they were all afraid. They gathered again to discuss how to resolve the situation. The Xing family's fire domain has been destroyed. 20 to 30,000 of their family members have been burned to death. They are all direct descendants. The Lu family also suffered a disaster. Tens of thousands of people have died. The Xianxi of heaven and earth has become extremely thin, at least by more than half. I'm afraid there will be a big problem soon. Both of them have offended the Yang family greatly. This move of Yang Wu's is really going to end their fate. Where should the Leaf family go from here? 3 days later, Yang Wu appeared again. In the transcendent world, Yang Wu could go anywhere with ease. No one could stop him. The ingress expert of the Leaf family and the current head of the Leaf family led a group of sages and direct descendants to kneel before Yang Wu and said, "Greetings to the head of the Yang Wu family." Their kneeling undoubtedly meant that they had submitted to the Yang family. They had no choice. If they did not kneel, the Leaf family would be finished. No matter where they moved to, there would be no place for them. Even if Yang Wu left, the will of the transcendent world would still take care of them. They did not want to follow in the footsteps of the Xing and Lu families. Get up. From today onwards, the Leaf family is a subsidiary of the Yang family. If you dare not come when I summon you, the Leaf family can wait for natural disasters. Yang Wu said faintly. Using the will of the transcendent world, he suppressed everyone in the Leaf family. The majestic will was like the might of the heavens, directly planting itself into the hearts of everyone in the Leaf family. They firmly believed that Yang Wu's words were not empty words. If they dared to have the slightest bit of disobedience, the entire Leaf family would definitely be finished. "Yes, head." The people of the Leaf family shouted in unison. Just like that, the Leaf family submitted to the Yang family. When this news was announced, everyone knew that the situation of the war race world would change greatly. No matter what the other war races thought, Yang Wu would still do this. He was going to the divine world. There were some future troubles that he had to deal with. With the addition of the Leaf family, the Yang family had sufficient confidence. They would have a very long time to develop. 100 years later, 1,000 years later, the Yang family would rely on their own strength to become a superpower. Chapter 1603. The changes in the war race world were sensed by the other clans of the war race. Their hearts were filled with panic, afraid that something big had happened. When the Leaf family announced that they would be the Yang family's permanent ally, everyone came back to their senses. They knew that something must have happened. Yang Wu still made his move. The Xing and Lu families were unlucky, and the Leaf family had completely submitted to the Yang family. Being the Yang family's permanent ally, this sounded like an alliance between the two families, but everyone knew that the Leaf family had completely submitted. Yang Wu just didn't want to change the situation of the war race too obviously. Otherwise, the Leaf family would directly announce that they were the Yang family subordinates. After doing all this, Yang Wu still made a trip to the Purple Firmament Palace. Some grudges still had to be settled personally. Back then, the matter between him and Yu, the Purple Firmament Palace, didn't have too many faults. Instead, many people of the Purple Firmament Palace were killed by him. He had already let go of this matter. But if he didn't give the Purple Firmament Palace some compensation, he would feel apologetic. Yang Wu looked at the majestic Purple Firmament Palace and waved his hand, directly cutting off 30% of the Purple Firmament Palace's luck. This meant that it would be very difficult for any outstanding talent to appear in the Purple Firmament Palace for the next 1,000 years. This could also be considered his return gift. After the people of the Purple Firmament Palace felt the change, everyone panicked. Especially the Purple Firmament Old Ancestor, who came personally to find out what was going on. But Yang Wu had already disappeared without a trace. Even if they knew that this was done by Yang Wu, they couldn't find trouble with Yang Wu. Yang Wu had already become a unique and special god spirit in the transcendent world. 1 year after Yang Wu was bestowed the title of the world's #1 martial saint, the transcendent realm seemed to have revived. Profound qi awakened, and everything became exceptionally different. Everyone discovered that the transcendent realm had become exceptionally different from before. In the 2nd year, many divine items and sacred items appeared in the transcendence. Many living beings fought over them, and many battles broke out. However, there were also many young experts. For example, the 5 heroes of the Proud Sword who had followed Yang Wu back then had already made quite a name for themselves in the transcendence. In addition, Bai Luoyin had also shown an impressive side to the other races. He led the White Water Race to suppress the Black Water Race. Before long, he would be able to devour the Black Water Race. In the 3rd year, the genius of the Yang family, Yang Qinghu, became a saint and was appointed as the next patriarch of the Yang family. From time to time, the Yang family would emit an amazing medicinal fragrance. It was rumored that there was a divine dragon summoning clouds and rain, which added a lot of noble dragon qi to the Yang family and helped the Yang family grow. 3 years passed in the blink of an eye. Some astonishing talents appeared in various places. They were much more outstanding than the previous geniuses. Some special battle constitutions also appeared. Another flourishing scene appeared. In these 3 years, Yang Wu spent most of his time in the Yang family. Occasionally, he would go to the Medicine God Hall. He only rushed between the two places. He mainly did 2 things. One was to teach the Yang family's younger generation, and the other was to continue cultivating the way of alchemy. He did not waste a single day. In addition, Wan Lanxin and Shu Yujun were also pregnant. The 2 women were pregnant with Yang Wu's seed at the same time. In order to let his seed be born smoothly, Yang Wu poured a lot of resources into the 2 women to nourish their bodies. In the process of nourishment, their strength soared all the way to the peak of the saint realm. Yang Wu more or less wanted to let them break through to the Jade Moon realm before letting them give birth to the child. However, the 2 women did not want the child to be born without seeing its father. Thus, before Yang Wu went to the God realm, they wanted to let the child be born. On this day, auspicious signs appeared in the sky above the Yang family. There was a Qilin riding the clouds, a flood dragon breathing in heaven and earth, and there was also a black tortoise playing in the water. There was also a vermilion bird gracefully appearing. Thousands of purple clouds continuously gathered and fell into the same bamboo courtyard. The purple clouds were like the sun. This was an indescribably noble phenomenon. Soon, the sound of a ripe melon falling to the ground rang out. Wah wah, wah wah. Before he could finish his sentence, another crisp voice rang out. Wah wah, wah wah. Next, a woman's voice rang out. It's born, it's born. The 2 madams have both given birth. The group of people outside the bamboo courtyard all revealed incomparably joyous smiles on their faces. These people were Yang Wu, Gong Salon, Yang Jingtao, Yang Jinan, Su Rome, and Nanan. They were all close relatives of Yang Wu. The others did not have the qualifications to approach this place for the time being. Even Yang Ba, Su Chu, and the others who were loyal to him could only stand guard from afar. It was not that they could not approach the bamboo courtyard. It was just that etiquette could not be ignored. It was better for them to scrupulously abide by their duties. Yang Jingtao excitedly asked the midwife, "Are the 2 children boys or girls?" The midwife replied from inside, "A boy and a girl. They look very lively." Gong Salon smiled and said, "Can we go in and take a look?" "You can come in. This is truly worthy of celebration," the midwife replied. Yang Wu nervously walked in. He had waited for this day for a long time. To be able to see the birth of his child before going to the divine realm was a joyous matter. Not to mention that the 2 children were born on the same day. It was truly a joy on top of a joy. Yang Wu entered the courtyard and looked at the 2 children placed in 2 sleeping baskets. One was a boy, and the other was a girl. The 2 children were full of spiritual energy, floating with immortal qi. No matter how one looked at them, they were dragons and phoenixes among men. Gong Silon carried the boy while Yang Jingtao carried the girl. The two children suddenly stopped crying and smiled. It was very lovable. This child's divine court has opened. He must have been born with a natural Tao flower. His spiritual wisdom is outstanding, and he also has such immortal jade-like skin, tender and tough. I'm afraid it's impervious to swords and spears. He is a natural saint body and is not inferior to the divine embryo body that was reborn back then. As expected of Wu Er's child, my Yang clan has gained another peerless genius. Yang Jingtao also said from the side, "This child is very extraordinary. She has a mole in between her eyebrows. She will definitely have great achievements in the future. Look at her pair of phoenix-like eyes. In the future, she will also be a phoenix descending. She will have the appearance of a mother of the world." Good, this is really good. Yang Jinan and Su Romei were bursting with joy at the side. They also saw the children and completely agreed with the two's words. These two children were nurtured with countless resources. To have such a physique, it was naturally extraordinary. Yang Wu looked at the two children, then looked at the two women lying on the bed. He walked to the bedside and held their hands. He said with pity, "Madams, you have worked hard." Wan Lanxin and Shu Yujun both smiled. At this moment, they were filled with happiness. No matter what experience they had with Yang Wu in the past, this moment seemed to be worth it. They had followed Yang Wu all the way and had never wavered in the slightest. Now, they had finally blossomed and bore fruit. Wan Lanxin gave birth to a son, and Shu Yujun gave birth to a daughter. The battle between the two women seemed to have come to a conclusion. Since ancient times, the son would definitely carry on the family line and become the focus of the family's cultivation. The daughter would naturally be weaker. Unexpectedly, after Yang Wu let go of their hands, the first thing he did was to hug his daughter. He said with a smile, "You are indeed my daughter. You are so cute and beautiful. When you grow up, I don't know how many young talents will be charmed by you. It's just that how can I bear to marry you off to someone else? It's really difficult to have both." Yang Wu's daughter seemed to be able to understand his meaning. She laughed heartily and waved her tender little hands. She was very cute. Yang Wu moved his face closer and was touched by her. His mood was even better. Wan Lanxin looked on from the side with an uncomfortable feeling. She spoke up for her son. "Are you forgetting about your son now that you have a daughter?" Yang Wu looked at her with an apologetic gaze and said, "Don't speak nonsense. It's just that my daughter is a bit cuter and my son is also my flesh and blood. But in the future, he will have to experience some hardships before he can become a man. I can't let him be too arrogant right now." While he said this, he also touched his son's face. He couldn't help thinking of Xie Tian's appearance. 3 years had passed, and he still hadn't found Xie Tian's whereabouts. He also hadn't been able to find the little man, which had become a knot in his heart. In these 3 years, Yang Zixing had already broken his seal and recovered his Saint Realm strength. Moreover, he had reached another level and could attack the Jade Moon Realm at any time. Yang Zixing was also looking for Xie Tian. He had to compete with Xie Tian again. Wu Er. This son and daughter were born on the same day. The girl was born a bit earlier and the boy was born a bit later. One is an elder sister and one is a younger brother. What do you want to name them? Gong Xilan asked. Right, we should name these two children. It's best if you name them Wu. Yang Jingtao agreed. Yang Wu said with a smile, "The names have already been chosen. The girl will be called Yang Wu Shuang, and the boy will be called Yang Tianjiao. Unparalleled heaven's pride. Unparalleled heaven's pride." Good, good. Yang Jingtao said with tears flowing down his old face. Not bad, not bad. This name is good. In the future, this brother and sister will be unparalleled heaven's pride. Gong Xilan said in a satisfied voice. The Yang family celebrated for another 3 days, congratulating Yang Wu on having a dragon and phoenix son and daughter. Following this, Yang Wu stayed by his children's side. He spent as much time with them as possible so that he wouldn't know when he would see them again. The day of departure was getting closer and closer. The smiles on the faces of Wan Lanxin and Shu Yujun slowly faded. They didn't want Yang Wu to leave at all. However, they were also very clear that if Yang Wu stayed in the transcendent realm, he would be able to enjoy the happiness of family, but it would delay his path of cultivation. They were incomparably conflicted. On this day, Yang Wu called the two of them over and handed the children over to the servants. He hugged the two of them and said, "Madams, your husband will be going to the immortal realm. In the future, I'll have to trouble the two of you to manage this family together. Although there's great-grandmother overseeing things, there's no need to disturb her for ordinary matters. You can make your own decisions. Cheng Hu is still young, so he might not be willing to listen to Pang Yuan. Only the two of you can make him have some misgivings. I hope that Cheng Hu will become an even more outstanding clan leader, but I'm afraid that he'll be too radical, which might not be a good thing." Yang Cheng, who wasn't even 50 years old, with his valiant strength and opportunities, he became a saint in one fell swoop and was designated as the next clan leader candidate. Chapter 1604. Originally, the Yang family had already decided that Yang Zixing would be the next head of the family. However, Yang Zixing had a carefree personality and did not like to be in power. He preferred to explore all kinds of dangerous places and search for great opportunities so that he could break free from Yang Wu's forbidden power as soon as possible. In addition, he wanted to cultivate powerful strength so that he could compete with Xie Tian. It was because of this that Yang Chenghu, who came later, became the next head of the family. Yang Chenghu was just a disciple of the Side family, but the purity of his bloodline was relatively high. Moreover, his cultivation talent was outstanding. He had once entered the 11th level of the God of War Pagoda and was second only to Yang Wu. In the past 3 years, he had been cultivating diligently and broke through several realms, becoming a sage in one fell swoop. He had also attracted a lot of strange phenomena and a change in his fate. Yang Wu had taken a liking to him, and Yang Wu had also given him some guidance and appointed him as the next head of the family. However, Yang Wu understood Yang Chenghu's personality. He was too vicious and would kill his enemies without hesitation. He did not care much about his family members. He was indeed a very good leader, but he was worried that if he killed too much, it would cause internal strife in the family. Because of this consideration, he said this to the two madams. Now, his two wives had already reached the peak of the sage realm and were respectively protected by Yang Ba and Su Chu. Moreover, they controlled the Crow army. If Yang Chenghu did not manage the Feng family well, they had the right to take back everything he had. After settling the matters of the family, Yang Wu said to the two women, "Before I leave, I will give Wu Shuang and Tianjiao a portion of providence to help them achieve a meteoric rise. However, you must remember not to spoil them too much. I don't necessarily want them to become the world's greatest sage like me. As long as they know how to be filial and righteous, that will be enough. Husband, don't worry. I will nurture them well." Wan Lanxin leaned into Yang Wu's embrace and said gently. Shu Yujun also asked from the side, "Husband, could it be that after you go to the God realm, it will be very difficult for you to return?" Yang Wu sighed softly and said, "According to past practice, I will also find a way back as soon as possible. If the divine realm is really so good, and I can continue to stay here, I will bring all of you with me. If the divine realm is not good, I will find a way to come back. That should be the case. Then, is my husband prepared?" Shu Yujun asked. "I already have some clues. Next, I'll confirm it. No matter what, I'll definitely come back. I can't bear to part with you, and I can't bear to part with the children," Yang Wu said solemnly as he hugged the two women tightly in his arms. On the second day, Yang Wu finally left the Yang family quietly. He didn't head to the divine world immediately. Instead, he brought the white-haired demoness and headed straight to the Northern Devil Island. He should have left the Northern Devil Island 3 years ago. However, the white-haired demoness didn't want to face it. Now, it was time for her to face it once again. The Northern Devil Island was one of the 4 Devil Islands. It was surrounded by the Northern Sea, and the living space on the island was only comparable to the War Race realm. It was far inferior compared to the mainland. It was precisely because of the environment that the population on the island was limited. However, they had a unique advantage and had abundant resources. Their cultivation speed was faster than the people on the mainland. The 4 Devil Islands were also part of the Transcendent Realm. When the Transcendent Realm leveled up, the resources on the 4 Devil Islands would become even more abundant. Yang Wu and the white-haired demoness stood in the air, looking at the flying beasts in the sky and smelling the scent of the sea. They naturally felt a sense of familiarity. He cultivated water-type, profound qi and was the closest to the energy of water. At this moment, he was almost ready to break through to the next realm. "My lord, leave the rest to me. I won't disappoint you," the white-haired demoness said seriously to Yang Wu. "Although your strength has increased by a lot, as long as you don't reach the heaven-connecting realm, you won't be able to become the island lord of this island. Let me find a place for you to settle down and help you to break through to the heaven-connecting realm as soon as possible. In the future, you can become the island lord of this island." Yang Wu said. His gaze turned to a corner of the island. That was a quiet place with surging multicolored light. It was very suitable for the white-haired demoness to cultivate. This time, he brought the white-haired demoness back for 2 reasons. Firstly, he wanted to resolve the knot in her heart. Secondly, he hoped that she could become the island lord. In the future, when he returned, he might need to borrow her strength to accomplish great things. This was only a seed that he planted. Once it sprouted, it would grow into a huge tree that could blot out the sky and cover the sun. The white-haired demoness missed her homeland. In that case, he would let her become the island lord. After making arrangements for the white-haired demoness, he headed to the Apothecary Alliance. Now, the Apothecary Alliance was once again the dominant force. Ever since Yang Wu became the Chosen One and received the support of the Transcendent Realm's will, his name had spread throughout the Transcendent Realm. Whether it was the experienced apothecaries or the rising stars, they all admired Yang Wu. This admiration even surpassed that of Xiang Dingtian. They all joined the Apothecary Alliance, hoping to meet Yang Wu one day. It would be best if they could listen to his preaching. Yang Wu's main reason for coming here was to meet his senior brother Xiang Dingtian, Chao Jifei, Miao Yin, Elder Zue, and the others. In the depths of his heart, he was actually a little afraid of meeting Chao Jifei. He had long known about Chao Jifei's feelings for him. After the martial sage assembly, Xiang Dingtian had passed on the position of lord to Chao Jifei. She had become the Alliance Lord of the Apothecary Alliance, a true empress. Countless outstanding saints and even heaven-connecting realm experts wanted to marry her. If they couldn't, they could marry into her family. However, Chao Jifei rejected all of them. She even said that she would never marry. Some people knew that Chao Jifei had fallen in love with Yang Wu, so they spread the news. It became a sad but beautiful love story. Everyone thought that Yang Wu would marry Chao Jifei. After all, with Yang Wu's status, it was natural for him to have a few more wives. Yang Wu also had a good impression of her. However, he was about to go to the immortal realm. He didn't know if he would be able to come back. He didn't want to waste her time. However, as a close friend, he had to meet her before he left. Chao Jifei sat cross-legged in the tower. She was wearing an apothecary's robe that covered her voluptuous body. She still looked elegant and refined. Her faintly discernible empress's might was enough to move many emperors. Many imperial princes desired to marry Chao Jifei. A fortune teller once said that marrying Chao Jifei could bring peace to the world and make one a peerless emperor. She had the characteristics of a great emperor. Wasn't Prince Qin of the Great Qin Empire infatuated with Chao Jifei? It was a pity that Chao Jifei wasn't interested in him at all. She had long since given up on his idea. This Prince Qin was also depressed because he couldn't win Chao Jifei's heart. In the end, he lost his ambition to conquer the world and was killed by the Great Qin Empire's first prince. Yang Wu didn't pay attention to these things. When he appeared in front of Chao Jifei, he was inexplicably nervous. That's right, nervous, because Chao Jifei's watery eyes were staring at him without blinking. He didn't know what to do. He was a god in the transcendental realm. If he was still nervous because of someone, no one would believe it. I've been waiting for this day for a long time, Chao Jifei said faintly. Her hands were constantly forming seals. Waves of energy floated and sealed the surroundings of the tower. Yang Wu looked at Chao Jifei's actions and said in a panic, "Jifei, what are you doing? Let's talk things out." Instead of saying 1,000 words, why don't you do it once? Today, I want to be your woman. Qiao Jifei said domineeringly. In the next moment, the alchemist robe on her body instantly fell off, revealing her perfect and flawless body. Her sparkling and translucent skin emitted an alluring luster. Her towering chest, flat lower abdomen, deep, every part of her body caused people to sink in and be unable to extricate themselves. Yang Wu had seen all kinds of situations, but this was definitely the first time he had seen such a situation. He had struggled many times, wanting to directly leave this place. But when he looked in her eyes that were filled with tenderness and desire, he still fell. When her body approached him, he, a dignified deity, was pushed down by a mortal woman. It was a disgrace to gentleness. No, it should be a disgrace to manhood. However, since he had already reached this point, he could only swallow his anger and endure. Ji Fei, remember to be gentle. I'm afraid of pain. Don't worry, I'll take good care of you. 3 days and 3 nights later, Yang Wu rushed out of the tower in a sorry state. He really had no face to see anyone else, so he directly teleported to the ruins of the Heavenly Palace. Qiao Jifei put on her clothes. Her face was flushed. She lightly pouted, then sighed. Finally, before he left, I pushed him down. I hope you can return safely in the future. I will protect you until the seas dry up and the mountains decay. The old Heavenly Palace. Now, the Heavenly Palace had begun to be rebuilt. The people rebuilding the Heavenly Palace were Hao Ren's second disciple, Nan Nan and Jiang Ping. Both of them were listed on the 10,000 Saints list. Originally, Nan Nan had the chance to go to the God Realm. That was a special privilege given to her by the spirit of the Realm Core, but she gave it up. She wanted to fulfill her master's last wish and rebuild the Heavenly Palace. Nan Nan had a God-class true dragon mount, and Jiang Ping had the strength comparable to Tong Tian. It was enough for them to rebuild the Heavenly Palace. However, there were so many things waiting to be done in the Heavenly Palace. It was too difficult for the two of them to rebuild the Heavenly Palace. Fortunately, Yang Wu and Xiang Dingtian had provided them with all their resources and manpower. In just 2 years, they had built the Heavenly Palace into a decent shape. When Yang Wu came to the Heavenly Palace again and saw the state it was in, he sighed in his heart. If Master was here, he would be very happy. When Jiang Ping saw Yang Wu, he exclaimed, "Senior brother Yang Wu, you came at the right time. Quickly guide some fate to the Heavenly Palace. Our Heavenly Palace will soon reopen. When the time comes, it will be the opening of Pangu Heaven. It will definitely shock the world." He swept towards Yang Wu, but was kicked away by Yang Wu. "Nan Nan, big brother can't wait for the Heavenly Palace to reopen, but I will leave you a generous gift. Even if the people of the God Realm come to kill you in the future, you don't have to fear," Yang Wu said seriously. Then, he merged with the will of the world of transcendence. Immortal Qi filled his body as he shouted, "The Heavenly Palace is the first palace in the world." Chapter 1605. The number 1 palace under the heavens. This was definitely heavenly words, attracting the illumination of countless stars. Heaven and Earth's profound Qi gathered, quickly forming an even better paradise than before. Yang Wu took Hao Ren as his master, so he was also a part of the Heavenly Palace. Unfortunately, he didn't cultivate the Heaven Profound technique, so he couldn't inherit the position of Heavenly Palace's master. His master had the highest hopes for his junior sister, so she was naturally the most suitable person to assume the position of Heavenly Palace's palace master. Jiang Ping's talent was extremely high. Other than being a little lecherous, he was also the best candidate for support. And now, Yang Wu and the Transcendental Realms were one, bestowing rewards on behalf of the heavens, directly conferring the Heavenly Palace as the number 1 palace under the heavens. As long as Yang Wu was still alive, this number 1 palace under the heavens would definitely live up to its name. Because the resources gathered here were definitely the most, the living beings who cultivated here would all become incomparably powerful. This was the generous gift Yang Wu left for Nan Nan. Within the hidden heaven realm, all the living beings felt the sudden change in the direction of the heavenly palace, and also faintly heard Yang Wu's words of conferment. They were all extremely surprised. When some people reacted, they all went up the mountain and hurriedly joined the heavenly palace. Taking the initiative, they would have the opportunity to rise rapidly. The reconstruction of the heavenly palace was no longer a secret, and the relationship between the heavenly palace and Yang Wu was even more well-known. After the heavenly palace was conferred, it would become even more powerful than before. In addition, he also imprinted the martial will he collected from the final realm into the heavenly palace. Back then, his harvest in the final realm was not small. Other than leaving a portion for the Yang family, he also left some for the Marquis gang, and the rest was given to the heavenly palace. Big brother, wait for me in the God realm. After I finish building the heavenly palace, I will definitely go to the God realm to find you. Nan Nan looked at Yang Wu with a face full of reluctance. Yang Wu lightly stroked her hair and said, Amen, Big brother will wait for you in the God realm. In the future, we still have to avenge our master in the God realm. He couldn't avenge his master. This time in the divine realm, he would definitely find those enemies and uproot them once and for all. Over the next few days, Yang Wu continuously went to some of the places he had stayed before. He also returned to the Dragon Phoenix Abyss, hoping to find another type of profound essence chi from the mysterious passage in the Dragon Phoenix Abyss. He tried to sense the will of the transcendent world, but found that even it could not sense where it was. On this day, he came to the sun-devouring realm and found his brother, Sun Do. Yang Wu prepared to head to the God world with Sun Do. This time, they each brought one person with them. Yang Wu brought Yu Huaijin. She was originally from the immortal realm, but she had returned with Yang Wu. Meanwhile, Sun Do brought Do Yin with him. That was the evil spirit that had almost incinerated Yang Wu. When Do Yin saw Yang Wu, he glared at him fiercely and said, I didn't expect you to have such a tough life. How good would it be if I cooked you and ate you back then? Granduncle, he's my big brother, Sun Do emphasized to Do Yin. I know, I was just scaring him. Now that he's blessed with good fortune, I can't do anything to him here, Do Yin said indignantly as he scratched his cheek. He didn't have a good impression of Yang Wu. Back then, Yang Wu even wanted to threaten him to go to the Purple Firmament Palace with him. Big brother, are we ready to set off? Sun Do looked at Yang Wu and asked. Sun Do was the existence that ranked second in the Thousand Saints Assembly. No matter which realm he was in, he was a well-known figure. However, after he returned, it was as if he had disappeared. He didn't appear in front of any living beings. All the limelight was overshadowed by Yang Wu. Sun Do didn't mind. In his opinion, without Yang Wu, there wouldn't be Sun Do today. The matter is more or less settled. It's time to head to the divine realm. Yang Wu replied softly. After a pause, he said happily, you and I can fight side by side again. Sun Do also said excitedly, that's right. If it wasn't for Big Brother, I wouldn't be where I am today. From today onwards, I'll take the lead for Big Brother. Whoever dares to bully us brothers, no matter if it's the divine realm's divine realm, will crush them to smithereens. After Sun Do had awakened his bloodline powers, he had become ferocious and battle-hungry. After 20 to 30 years of tempering, he had become an extremely impressive expert. Now, he had even broken through to the divine level, which was much faster than Yang Wu's progress. Yang Wu patted Sun Do's shoulder and said with a smile, then settled. Let's leave. In the next moment, they sensed the spirit of the realm core. As long as they silently muttered the name of the spirit of the realm core, it would be able to sense their thoughts at any time. Then, the two of them, Yu Huaijin and Do Yin, were all transferred to the All Saints Palace. They were all top-notch martial sages and could leave with their attendants. Yang Wu and Sun Do didn't dare to bring anyone else. They only brought two living beings who had once lived in the divine realm. Only then would they have the ability to protect themselves in the divine realm. If they brought anyone else, it might only be a path to death. The human realm and the divine realm are separated by an endless Milky Way. I can't directly send you to the divine realm. I can only send you to the Milky Way at the edge of the divine realm. In the end, you can search for yourselves. Life and death are up to the heavens. Think carefully. The spirit of the realm core's voice rang out. The human realm, demon realm, ghost realm, divine realm, and immortal realm were 6 different realms. They were separated by an incomparably long distance. It was already very good that the spirit of the human realm core could send them close to the divine realm. The human realm was shattered. It couldn't form a complete heavenly Tao. Only by leaving the human realm could it become stronger. The human realm didn't restrict these living beings who wanted to leave. It allowed them to go to a wider world to cultivate. This could also reduce the pressure on it. Most importantly, it hoped that one day there would be someone who could reassemble the human realm and restore it to a complete human realm. This was also why the spirit of the human realm chose the heavens' chosen children again, and then transferred them to the divine realm. It naturally hoped that some people would know how to be grateful and restore the human realm. Unfortunately, there were even more people who left and never returned. There was no one who thought of it as a good thing. Even so, it was still happy to do it. It always felt that there was hope. It's easy to get lost in the endless Milky Way. Moreover, there are all kinds of void holes. Back then, I was swept by a void hole and came near the human realm. Then, I mistakenly entered the medicine god palace. Yu Huijin said beside Yongwu, "That's not all. There are many more starry sky beasts. They are incomparably powerful. Once we encounter one, we will most likely die. Those who haven't reached the deity realm and dare to enter the divine realm's star river will die." Douyin glanced at Yongwu and said. It was very obvious that he looked down on Yongwu. Yongwu acted as if he didn't hear anything. He said to the spirit of the astral realm, "Send us wherever you want according to the rules." Since he had decided to go to the divine realm, would he still be afraid? That was impossible. All right, you guys take care of yourselves. If there comes a day when you become strong, I hope you will remember the human realm. The spirit of the realm core responded and used the stellar transposition technique to transfer Yongwu and the others out of this small world. Yongwu, Sun Do, and the others felt dizzy. They couldn't control their bodies, and their brains completely lost consciousness. It was as if they had stepped into the long river of time and space. They didn't know where they were. When they came back to their senses, they were already many light years away from the human realm. They were all living beings who had reached the divine realm. After stopping, they couldn't stop retching. They looked like they were in extreme pain. If they were slightly weaker, they would have been torn apart by this power. Almost killed me. Sun Do roared. Yu Huijin and Douyin were slightly better. However, their faces were still extremely pale. Yongwu adjusted his breathing and looked around. His eyes were filled with worry. This was indeed a place of nothingness. It was too difficult to distinguish directions. If they got lost here, they would probably die. Although they knew that it was too easy to encounter danger in the vast space of nothingness, and there was no power to replenish them, they would be exhausted to death sooner or later. Fortunately, they could see a galaxy in the distance. It was filled with starlight. For a saint, it was definitely a perfect place to cultivate. Whoosh whoosh. Suddenly, a gust of wind blew over, and they all felt pain on their skin and flesh. Among them, Douyin cried out involuntarily, "Run! This is the void wind. Once it hits us, we will definitely be separated. Moreover, our divine bodies may not be able to withstand it." In the next moment, he quickly left with Sun Do. This guy had always been prejudiced against Yongwu. He didn't want to go with Yongwu at all. He wanted to take the opportunity to leave with Sun Do. Yu Huijin's reaction wasn't slow either. She pulled Yongwu and quickly chased after them. In this place, it was better for them to stay together. However, just as they were flying away, that ball of void wind chased after them. Its speed was astonishingly fast. They were all extraordinary people. They immediately realized that this void wind was different. When they looked back, they saw that it was a group of strange insects that were rushing towards them. It would have been better if they didn't look. After they looked, their expressions changed. Yu Huijin cried out, "Void-foot insects, run, run." At this moment, She also exerted all her strength to escape with Yang Wu without regard for anything else. Douyin did the same. The void-foot insects were the most terrifying creatures in the void. They were very difficult to kill and could pass through layers of obstacles to devour living beings. Although they were fast, they were not as fast as the void-foot insects. They could escape through the void and catch up. Seeing that the void-foot insects were getting closer and closer, Yu Huaijin and Douyin didn't hesitate to use all their strength to fight back. However, the void-foot insects' bodies were ethereal. They used the power of the void to dodge their attacks. Not only that, but they also closed in on them. They opened their ferocious mouths and bit at them. "Relax, I'll take you away." Yang Wu's voice sounded in their ears. He sent out a series of palm strikes. Void hand. Bang bang. Normal attacks couldn't hit the void-foot insects. They could predict their movements. However, they couldn't dodge Yang Wu's void hand. It was a power that countered them. After the void-foot insects were attacked, they became a little messy. When they regrouped, Yang Wu had already used the void travel technique to bring the others far away. When they appeared in another place, before they could even heave a sigh of relief, their expressions changed again. Starry Sky Beast. Chapter 1606. Space beasts were the most terrifying creatures in the void. Their bodies were incomparably huge, and their battle prowess was incomparably powerful. They were comparable to overlords, and there were even some space beasts whose battle prowess was comparable to the true realm. Yang Wu and the rest had just escaped from the void footworm when they encountered space beasts. Not just one, but almost 100 space beasts. The number was terrifying. These space beasts were round and had 88 legs. When they contracted, they looked like stars. When they opened their mouths, they looked like spiders. Yang Wu wanted to lead them to escape again, but Douyin shouted, "I am invincible in the universe. There is nothing to be afraid of." Sun Do quickly said, "Uncle, now is not the time to brag. I think we should escape first." Douyin was powerful. This was not an exaggeration. But facing so many space beasts, they had no chance of winning. These guys had thick skin and flesh. If they really fought, they might not be able to break through the defense of these space beasts. "Let's kill our way out. When we return to the divine realm, we need some courage," Yu Huaijin said excitedly. Running away was not a solution. If they wanted to return to the divine realm, they had to go through some training. Otherwise, they would only be bullied by others. Roar! A space beast roared. The terrifying sound wave shook the space. It was many times scarier than the lion's roar. The other space beasts also roared. Yang Wu and the others all felt a splitting headache. If their strength was a little weaker, their heads would definitely explode on the spot. Ordinary divine realm creatures would not be able to withstand it. In addition, another space beast was trying to devour them. These space beasts were huge. One of them was enough to kill them. There were many of them at the same time. They did not give them any chance of survival. "Kill! Douyin will start with you all." Douyin roared and waved his fist to the space beasts. Douyin was indeed a creature that was close to the true God realm. His powerful aura swept out. When he punched, it was like a star that wanted to crush the space beasts. Yang Wu had only seen such strength from his master. Even Yu Huaijin couldn't compare to him. No wonder this guy was so arrogant. He did have a reason to be arrogant. Yu Huaijin said to Yang Wu, "Be careful." In the next moment, she raised her machete and attacked the starry sky beast. At this moment, Yang Wu felt a sense of unfamiliarity from Yu Huaijin. It seemed like this woman was about to break free from his control. Yang Wu transmitted his voice to Sun Do. "Shou Ho, follow your uncle closely. Don't act recklessly." "No, I want to kill the enemy with Big Brother," Sun Do shouted as he waved his broken staff. Yang Wu and Sun Do attacked at the same time. The attacks of these space beasts were everywhere, and none of them could escape. They had to kill their way out. Yang Wu didn't dare to hold back. He took out the Big Dipper sword and slashed at one of the space beasts. A stream of sword light appeared above the space beast's head in the blink of an eye, wanting to cut it in half. The space beast's reaction was very fast. It spat out a terrifying wind from its huge mouth and directly blew away the light from Yang Wu's sword. In addition, Yang Wu also felt waves of void wind attack him. In the blink of an eye, his black tortoise battle armor was melted away. Yang Wu was shocked and quickly used the void travel technique to dodge. These space beasts were overlord-level creatures, but they also had a weakness, and that was their slow movement speed. Yang Wu took advantage of this weakness and attacked them. His sword was like a meteor, fiercely crashing into the space beast's body. The huge space beast was directly sent flying. However, Yang Wu realized that his sword couldn't directly cut the space beast in half. He only injured it a little. Before he could regain his senses, a meteorite crashed towards him. He reacted quickly and slashed at the meteorite with his sword. However, he was knocked back by the impact. On the other side, Douyan's laughter rang out. "You playthings, how can you stop me? Get out of my way." Douyan's golden fire fist sent 2 space beasts flying. He grabbed Sun Do and fled. "Uncle, take my big brother with you," Sun Do anxiously called out. Unfortunately, Douyan didn't care at all. He still took Sun Do and disappeared into the void. Yu Huijin's beautiful eyes twitched. She glanced at Yang Wu and muttered in her heart, "You're on your own." In the next moment, she also took graceful steps and quickly shuttled through the void. She didn't want to fight the space beasts head-on. Just like that, the 4 of them rushed to the God Realm. Only Yang Wu stayed behind for the time being. Yang Wu sensed it clearly. He sighed heavily in his heart and said, facing a great disaster, they all flew away, separately. In fact, these space beasts seemed terrifying. However, it was still very easy for Yang Wu to escape. His void shuttling technique was an unparalleled secret escape technique. However, Douyan and Yu Huijin didn't care. Yang Wu wanted to escape. However, he realized that there was a meteorite in the middle of these space beasts. He fixed his eyes on it, and his pupils shrank. He exclaimed, Star core. Such a large star core. It was much larger than the one Nan found in the final realm. Space beasts loved to devour star cores. Devouring a star core could make their strength soar. The star core in front of them was too big. Moreover, there were so many of them. They were probably fighting over this star core. That was why so many space beasts gathered here. Yang Wu's eyes turned red. If he could get this star core, he could rush to the peak of the Sage Realm. Moreover, he wouldn't have to worry about reaching the Jade Moon Realm. In addition, if he gathered it with the Life Jade Essence, it could be used as a core item to break through to the True God Realm in the future. Thinking of this, Yang Wu felt that he couldn't let go of this sector core. Yang Wu didn't hesitate anymore. He directly used the void shuttling technique to rush towards the star core. These space beasts were very powerful. Their senses were very sharp. When they realized that Yang Wu was rushing towards the star core, they roared and slapped the void. They lifted a part of the void and wanted to kill Yang Wu. In addition, many space beasts were trying to devour the star core. Although they were big, they didn't dare to swallow the star core directly. The energy of the star core would make their bodies explode. They were trying their best to devour the star energy emitted by the star core. They also sealed the star core layer by layer to prevent Yang Wu from getting close. Although Yang Wu's void travel technique was powerful, it was blocked by the power of these starry sky beasts, so he couldn't immediately rush over. He was even shaken to the point of vomiting blood and rolling on the ground. He had to forcefully open a path to obtain the star core. There's no other way. I'll let you have a taste of my power, Yang Wu shouted. He activated the power of the immortal root in his body. The Xianqi in his dantian exploded. The galaxy in the distance flickered. Endless star energy gathered. The Big Dipper sword slashed towards the space beasts. Star-swallowing sword technique. This sword was activated by the power of the immortal root. The sword energy was like a rainbow. It slashed out a sword mark that was 100,000 feet long. As the long mark swept past, the space beasts, which are the size of small stars, felt danger. They kept breathing out powerful energy to collide with the sword light. Rumble, rumble. The sword light was incomparably sharp. It carried an unstoppable momentum. It broke through the attacks of the space beasts and landed on them, forcing them to fly away. Their bodies were too big. They couldn't dodge at all. They thought that this sword wouldn't be able to break through their defense. Unfortunately, they thought too much this time. Yang Wu had used up all his power in this sword, including the power of the immortal root. He was determined to get the star core. Yang Wu followed the sword light and quickly swept over. A pair of wings grew out of his back. He raised his speed to the extreme and rushed forward crazily. The starry sky beasts roared as if they had gone mad. Thousands of starry blades shot out from their bodies towards Yang Wu. There weren't just one or two of them. There were nearly 100 of them. Each of them was waiting to devour the power of the star core. Yang Wu wanted to snatch their favorite. How could they tolerate it? The sky was full of attacks. It was impossible to guard against. No matter how fast Yang Wu was, he couldn't dodge every single one of them. He had no choice but to carry the black pot and continue to push forward. He was getting closer and closer to the star core. His eyes were filled with desire. Just as he was getting close to the star core, a space beast fiercely rammed towards him. This space beast was too big. Its strength wasn't small either. When it rammed into his black pot, the space beast was sent flying. However, Yang Wu was also sent flying. The other space beasts gathered again. They wanted to take the star core away. It was impossible for Yang Wu to snatch it away. "My star core," Yang Wu roared. He wanted to use his last bit of strength to fight for it. Such an opportunity could only be encountered by chance. There was no reason for him to let it go. Unfortunately, another 2 space beasts rammed into him and sent him flying far away. It was difficult for him to make another move. However, just as Yang Wu was about to struggle, a sword light flashed across the sky. Yang Wu only saw a blur in front of his eyes. He found that the space beasts were directly cut in half. They didn't even have time to scream before they exploded on the spot. Yang Wu was also sent flying far away by the shockwave of the star beast explosion. A figure walked in the air and stopped above the star core. It was a young man with a head full of white hair. He carried a slender sword on his back. His entire person was like the sun of an immortal. He was extremely dazzling. Yang Wu found that this young man was extremely beautiful. He wasn't inferior to Lu Ji. He was a rare, handsome man in the world. More importantly, this young man killed nearly 100 space beasts with a single sword. This kind of strength was extremely shocking. Yang Wu had fought with the gods of the God Realm before. He knew how powerful the gods were. However, the young man in front of him had a strength that made him feel inferior. Could it be the true God Realm? Chapter 16:07. He killed close to 100 space beasts in one move. Even if he wasn't a true god, he was still an invincible overlord. The white-haired young man kept the star core and glanced at Yang Wu as if he was looking at a child. He didn't put him in his eyes at all. Then, he disappeared into the void and disappeared quietly. The white-haired young man came quickly and left quickly as well. The look in his eyes pierced deeply into Yang Wu's heart. In the 3 years in the Transcendent Realm, Yang Wu always had the feeling that he was a god. In fact, that was the case. He could do many things that others couldn't. He could control a piece of heaven and earth. Unknowingly, it gave him a feeling of looking down on everything. It was as if there was nothing in the world that he couldn't do. However, when he saw a huge piece of star core, he couldn't get it even after using all his strength. However, the young man just used a sword to kill all the space beasts and took the star core. The young man looked at him like he was an ant and didn't put him in his eyes at all. It had been a long time since he felt this way. After a while, he calmed down and took a deep breath. It's time to start over. When he left the Transcendent Realm, he had already fallen from a god to a mortal. It was time to wake up and start over. Otherwise, if he met any living being here, he would be consigned to eternal damnation. Yang Wu didn't leave immediately. He started to sweep the corpses of the space beasts. The space beasts were crushed with a sword, but there were still many broken limbs and even beast cores left. These things weren't worth mentioning to the young man, but to him, they were a fortune. From the moment he stepped into the divine realm, he had to work hard again and build up his confidence. He would start with the space beasts. He collected some of the space beasts' broken body parts and obtained some beast cores. He quickly found a floating meteorite and roasted the broken body parts with divine fire. I could try the ox blood technique. Yang Wu muttered to himself and threw the barbecued meat into his mouth. The ox blood technique was the Jiang clan's secret technique to strengthen blood qi in the body. It required refining some high-grade meat to temper a body as strong as an ox. Yang didn't know whether the space beast's meat tasted good or not. However, he could feel that the energy contained in the meat of the space beast was very strong. This was a god-level beast. It might be very beneficial to him. Yang chewed on the tough beast meat and used the ox blood technique to refine the energy that seeped out of the meat. Sure enough, there was a strong energy seeping into his body and blood qi. To his body, these powers were rather rough and mottled, which was related to the environment they lived in. It was not easy to absorb and digest their powers, but Yang Wu did not have such concerns. His peach core, Dantian, could purify all powers, and his physique also contained immortal qi, which could also expel those mottled powers. After eating a few pieces of space beast meat, Yang Wu felt a ball of energy spreading in his abdomen. It was very obvious. His blood qi was constantly surging. His kidneys were also greatly nourished. His lower abdomen was like a pillar supporting the sky. Damn, this space beast meat can also nourish the kidneys. Yang Wu looked at his lower abdomen and couldn't help but laugh. The kidneys' innate skill, Netherworld Ice Wing Blade, needed to nourish the kidneys the most. Yang Wu put away the space beast meat and ate a few more pieces. His energy became incomparably abundant. He had an impulse to immediately break through. This was the meat of a god-level life form. The energy it contained was very strong. He had already reached the peak of the 11th level of Star Rune Realm and could enter the 12th level of Star Rune Realm at any time. He didn't break through to that step because he wanted to continue polishing his comprehension of each realm. In the Transcendent Realm, he could directly break through to the Jade Moon Realm. However, he didn't do so. He didn't want to completely merge his will with the Transcendent Realm. If he did so, he wouldn't be able to go to the Divine Realm and would be rejected by the Divine Realm. The wills of different realms couldn't merge together. Yang Wu was not in a hurry to break through. He identified the direction and saw an endless galaxy in the distance. And in the middle of this galaxy, there was an infinitely big world star. It was surrounded and protected by the other stars moving around it. It was the Emperor of the Stars. It was most likely the Divine Realm. His current location seemed to be very close to the Divine Realm, but in reality, it was still very far away. With his speed, it would probably take him 2 to 3 years to reach it. He couldn't help but sigh. Without a void array, it's inconvenient to go anywhere. In the next moment, Yang Wu didn't stay any longer and started to rush at full speed. He didn't summon the thunder tribulation clouds. Instead, he used his own strength to rush. Moreover, this was a different world, so the thunder tribulation clouds might not be useful. He treated this journey as an experience to see all the mysteries of the void space. The void space was indeed incomparably dangerous. He could see some void holes at any time. If it wasn't for him being sensitive to the power of the void, he might have been swallowed. He used the void body tempering technique and used the power of the void to temper his body. Void body tempering technique. Ascension void, tempering void skin, tempering void tendons, tempering void organs, tempering void bones, transforming void, absolute void. Yang Wu had already cultivated to the tempering void bones step, but he hadn't touched the threshold of the next 2 realms. The main reason was that he had always been in the transcendental world and did not have much void energy to use. However, in this land of nothingness, he could draw in void energy anywhere. It was the perfect time to cultivate the void tempering technique again. Yang Wu started cultivating again. He channeled a lot of void power into his body to temper his skin, tendons, organs, and bones again. His body was being tempered by the power of the void. While he was in pain, he was also increasing the strength of his body. This was indeed an extremely difficult and arduous cultivation. This bit of pain was nothing to Yang Wu. Since he wanted to establish a foothold in the divine realm, he had to target that white-haired young man. Only with that kind of strength could he establish a foothold in the divine realm. Otherwise, he would be killed by a sword. Along the way, Yang Wu wasn't lonely. From time to time, he would encounter void worms, starry beasts, and even some terrifying creatures that he had never heard of before. The most important thing was that Yang Wu saw a nine-headed dragon snake coiled on a star. The nine-headed dragon snake's aura was torrential, and its demonic aura was extremely overbearing. No creature dared to approach within a radius of 10,000 miles. Yang Wu only glanced at it from afar and ran as far away as he could. In addition, he saw a beehive as big as a star. Hundreds of millions of bees were entering and exiting. Their ferocious appearance was terrifying. The most frightening thing was that they actually fed on starry beasts. Also, he saw a strange old tree in the void. Piles of corpses of terrifying creatures were hanging on the branches. He could smell the stench of corpses from afar. These strange sights frightened Yang Wu. All along, he had thought that he was amazing. Only now did he realize that he really felt like he had just come from the mortal world to the extraordinary world. He could kill any creature that appeared. What a terrifying void space, Yang Wu thought to himself. Those that could survive in the void space were all extremely terrifying creatures. Yang Wu could survive here because he was different from the rest. Otherwise, if it were any other sage, they would definitely die if they encountered a gust of void wind. Yang Wu had also been blown by a void wind that appeared suddenly and almost fell apart. That was the void wind that could destroy gods. Yang Wu couldn't help but feel that he had been flying for half a year. Half a year later, the galaxy in front of him was still very clear. The location of the divine realm was also very clear. However, it would still take a long time to get close. Fortunately, he was patient. Otherwise, he would definitely be driven crazy by the void space. He couldn't help but think of Du Xiaojing. He really missed the days he spent with her in the divine firmament space. At that moment, he suddenly saw an intense battle in front of him. His first reaction was to leave. The creatures that were fighting in the void space were not ordinary people. However, before he could leave, the waves of the battle swept toward him. He dodged without hesitation, but he couldn't dodge in time. He was affected by the power here. Poof! Yang Wu spat out a mouthful of blood as his body was sent flying far away. He did it on purpose. The creatures that were fighting were probably high-level immortals or top-tier immortals. Although their strength was overbearing, it wasn't enough to make him spit out blood immediately. However, he didn't know if they did it on purpose. They pretended to be weak first. If they dared to harm him, they couldn't blame him for being merciless. A voice rang out. "Get lost. Do you really think I don't dare to kill you? Do you think the Void Stone here is for you to get? You stole the Void Stone from our Yin School. You think you're in the right? If we don't kill you today, our Yin School will lose face." Another voice replied. "Rumble, rumble." Several powerful creatures were fighting fiercely without stopping. Terrifying divine light fluctuated, spreading in all directions. The floating meteorites exploded one after another. Yang Wu was unlucky. He didn't want to get involved. He wanted to take the opportunity to leave. Unexpectedly, someone grabbed him. Yang Wu wanted to resist, but after hesitating, he didn't. He was caught. "Are you with that old bastard? How dare you run? I'll kill you." The other person shouted. Yang Wu quickly replied, "My lord, I was just passing by. I don't know what happened." He took the opportunity to look at the other person. He found that the other person was a rough man. His triangular eyes were as scary as a poisonous snake. He held a snake spear in his hand. Beside him was a terrifying snake demon. Other than this person, there were several other creatures. These creatures were not only humans, but also demons and other races. Every one of them had reached the immortal realm. Instantly, Yang Wu felt that this was a place close to the immortal realm. All the creatures here were at the immortal realm. If they were in the transcendent realm, they would be famous experts. In addition, he found it strange that these different races were wearing the same clothes. They were obviously from the same faction. Emohalua, why are you wasting time with him? Kill him. Chapter 1608. Killing without a word. This was the living environment in the void. Yang Wu had no choice but to beg for mercy. "I'm just passing by. I really don't know who you are and don't know what's going on." You're just a saint. How can you come to the Star River space?" You're too suspicious. Kill him. The leading man in a flashy red robe shouted. The coarse man who captured Yang Wu didn't say anything. He slapped the top of Yang Wu's head. Just as Yang Wu was about to resist, the sound of a silver bell rang out. Wait, why don't you leave him to me? I'm lacking a medicine boy. I think he's quite good-looking. He's the best medicine boy for me. The coarse man stopped and said, You really want him? Of course. When did little big sister speak nonsense? The woman replied. Yang Wu glanced in the direction of the voice. He thought it was a young and beautiful woman, but who would have thought it was an old woman? She looked particularly ugly, and there were snake-like ferocious creatures hanging on her body. These creatures weren't snakes. They looked like lizards. They also looked like centipedes with hundreds of legs. It was extremely frightening. This old woman called herself Little Big Sister. This was too much. The coarse man grabbed Yang Wu and threw him to the other party. Then I'll give him to you. Another creature laughed and said, Little Big Sister wants him because you want to harvest yang to replenish your yin. I see that he's full of yang energy. It should be enough for you to harvest for a while. Haha, who doesn't know that Big Sister Pomegranate likes this? Don't say it out loud, another creature said. The old woman called Big Sister Pomegranate didn't mind. She took Yang Wu, and the poisonous creatures on her body quickly crawled toward Yang Wu. A timid person would definitely be scared **+ in the face of such a situation. Yang Wu also revealed an extremely panicked expression. You? What do you want? I'm from the war race. When the two words war clan were spoken, the expressions of all the living beings present changed. In the divine realm, the war clan was a first-rate aristocratic clan, a great clan, and an ancient clan. How freakishly powerful were they? They occupied a large part of the divine continent and called themselves the overlords. Very few creatures dared to provoke these lunatics. Are you really from the war clan? The leading red-robed man frowned. Why would someone from the war race be here alone? Does this brat think he can protect himself by randomly reporting his background? The demon race creature shouted. It's easy to tell if I'm from the battle clan or not. Yang Wu responded, just as he was about to activate his battle blood and release his black tortoise battle chi. Pomegranate, who was beside him, lightly tapped his neck. A tyrannical poison immediately entered his neck. This poison was strong enough to kill a deity. Yang Wu only felt numb. Just as he was about to expel the poison, he restrained his strength and did not dare act rashly. Instead, he turned pale with fright and said, What did you do to me? Nothing much. I just wanted you to behave and be my medicine boy. What does it matter if you're from the war clan or not? Pomegranate said with a grin. When she opened her mouth, there were small poisonous bugs in her teeth. It was incomparably frightening. This was an expert in using poison. Pomegranate, let's investigate first, the red-robed man said. What's there to investigate? A mere war race brat can scare you to this extent. Moreover, he's just an imposter. Look at how he has the mark of the war clan on his body. Moreover, the war clan always travels in groups. There are very few youngsters who are alone. Moreover, he's in the void. No matter where he comes from, he belongs to me. Pomegranate replied. After pausing for a moment, she said, The void stone was taken by that person. Let's return to the camp and settle this. I'll make this brat obediently tell us whether or not he's from the war clan. The living beings nodded and stopped thinking about it. Then, they flew in a certain direction. Yang Wu's nerves were numbed. He couldn't speak, and his body couldn't move. He was pulled forward by others. His gaze was sizing up these creatures. 3 of them were from the human race, while the other 5 were from the devil race and the Yao race. Among them, the red-robed man was the strongest. He was also their leader. The old woman who was carrying him was the most terrifying. The other creatures were relatively weaker. From their conversation, he could tell that they should be from certain power. Moreover, their power wasn't small. They were bringing him to the camp in the void. About 2 days later, Yang Wu saw a floating piece of land. This piece of land should be the debris of the stars. It was about the size of a city, and there were many creatures stationed there. They were heading there. Yang Wu hadn't even gotten close to this continent, but he could feel that there was an array on this continent. It was stabilizing this continent and isolating it from the void wind. After these people arrived, they took out their tokens and broke through the array. They were able to enter this continent. After Yang Wu was brought in, he discovered that there were about 3,000 creatures here. They came from different races, but they were still able to live together. He was very surprised. In addition, they were all in the god realm. He didn't even see a single saint realm creature. He found it hard to believe. These 3,000 creatures all had their own small groups. They were stationed in different places, but no matter where they were, there was a flag with the words Yin Gate written on it. This meant that these people were all from the Yin Gate. Luo Hong, did you get anything this time? Someone came up and asked the red robe man. We did, but someone else got it first. The red robe man sighed. Who in this place dares to steal from our Yin Gate? Is it someone from the Void Hall? That person asked. When Yang Wu heard the words Void Hall, he instantly pricked up his ears. In the divine firmament forbidden ground, there was a method to cultivate the void tempering technique. He had always suspected that it was a place deliberately created by a powerful force. The purpose was to bind the people of the various worlds and use them for their own use. Back then, he and Du Xiaojing didn't cultivate this secret technique, but they were able to live there safely. They knew how deep the waters were. Before Yang Wu could finish listening to them, he was brought to a palace by Shirlu. This palace was as big as a room, but after walking in, he discovered that there was another space. It turned out that this was a temporary palace. There was a world inside, and there were many people here. It was divided into many courtyards and pavilions. Someone came up and said, Greetings, master. Shirlu threw him to two servants and said, Take good care of him. Don't let him escape. I still have a use for him. Yes, master. The two people guarding the stone door replied in unison. Yang Wu was locked in a side room. No one put any restrictions on him. Yang Wu wanted to get rid of the poison, but after hesitating for a moment, he didn't struggle and directly fainted. He forced the poison to one part of his body so that it wouldn't harm other parts of his body. These forces are very powerful. I can't act rashly. Otherwise, I will get into big trouble. But this can't go on forever. I have to control that old woman, Yang Wu thought to himself. After some time, he felt that the palace seemed to move. After a while, someone came. I heard from Master that she caught a man to be my boy toy. Is he locked up here? A clear voice sounded from outside the house. Miss, you can't go in. Master said that no one dares to go in. The guard stopped her. How dare you? Do you believe that I won't use you as a test subject and poison you to death? The voice rang out again. The guard couldn't stop the person who came in, and the woman walked in. This was a young woman with black spots on her face. Her face was ugly, but her figure was not bad. Her front and back were protruding, and she was very exposed. If her face was better looking, she would also be an alluring seductress. What a pity. When the woman saw Yang Wu lying on the ground, her eyes lit up. She took 2 steps forward and pulled Yang Wu up. She looked happy and said, Good, good. Master really loves me. She brought back such a handsome man for me. I want him. After saying that, she directly grabbed Yang Wu and pulled Yang Wu in front of her. Yang Wu immediately smelled the fox smell on her body. He suddenly felt like he had done something evil. This smell was scarier than poison. I'll endure, I'll endure. I'll endure. Yang Wu felt that he was too sullen. He couldn't wait to kill her. The woman sniffed his face and laughed. What a handsome little brother. Without waiting for her to finish, Shirlio's voice rang out from outside the door. No matter how handsome he is, it's none of your business. Idiot, put him down. When the young woman saw Shirlu, she said without any respect, Master, don't tell me you want an old cow to eat young grass. That's too unkind. Give him to me. I need such a handsome boy pet. Lon Lon, you're not putting your master in your eyes anymore. Unless you give me your other 10 boy pets and let me test the poison on them, I'll give him to you. How about it? Shirlu laughed and replied, Master, you're making it too difficult. I'll give you 3. That's enough sincerity. 8, no less. You have to know that this brat might be from the Battle Clan. His ability to endure poison is not simple. All right, I'll lose out a bit. I'll give you 4, no more. This conversation between master and disciple was very interesting. It didn't seem like master and disciple. It seemed like they were talking on the same level. The master couldn't suppress the disciple, and the disciple had no respect for the master. However, Yang Wu knew from their conversation that his situation wasn't very good. In the end, the disciple used 6 boy pets to exchange for Yang Wu. Be careful. He dares to wander in the void. He's not as simple as he looks. After Shirlu reminded the disciple, she gave Yang Wu a meaningful look and then turned to leave. Only Yang Wu and the woman called Lan Lan were left in the hall. Battle Clan? Let's try my new 7 Nights of Spring Medicine and see if it's effective. Hee hee. Chapter 1609. 7 Nights of Spring Medicine. Just hearing it made one's imagination run wild. In reality, it wasn't an evil medicine. It was a medicine that could make a person suffer for 7 days before they died. This woman called Lan Lan didn't really want to have sex with Yang Wu. Yang Wu didn't know what the medicine was for, so he quickly replied, Don't mess around. I'm really from the battle race. If you mess around with me, the battle race won't let you go. So what if you're from the battle race? No one will know if you die. Lan Lan laughed. She took out a bottle of medicine and poured it into Yang Wu's mouth. At this moment, Yang Wu didn't resist. He had to control this woman. Only then would he have the upper hand. Battle gods kill. When the woman was at her most defenseless, his battle god rushed out and killed his way into her god's court. He wanted to take her down. The woman didn't expect Yang Wu to resist at this moment. He used the most deadly method to fight to the death. Yang Wu took advantage of her weakness. Yang Wu's shadow appeared in her god's court. After Yang Wu's battle soul rushed into the woman's god's court, he threw out a powerful soul punch at her soul. Other than that, his real body didn't stay idle. Lan Yao surged out and surrounded the woman. She was locked in place, not giving her a chance to escape. Yang Wu's attack was too sudden, and the woman was caught off guard. However, she was indeed an expert who had reached the Jade Moon realm. Powerful energy quickly appeared on her body to block Lan Xiaoji's attack, and the soul in the god's court counterattacked. You dog slave, you're faking it. Lan Lan cursed. A terrifying poison gas exploded from her body. It formed a strange poison beast that tried to capture Yang Wu. Lan Lan's power was not to be underestimated. She was at the early stage of the Jade Moon realm, but her fighting power was stronger than the high stage of the Jade Moon realm in the Transcendental realm. This also meant that the living beings of the God realm were much stronger than the living beings of the human realm in the same realm. Yang Wu and Lan Lan's souls and true bodies were locked in an intense battle. They were in a perilous situation. Yang Wu thought that his battle soul would be able to take down his opponent's soul, but he was wrong. His opponent's soul power was very strong, not much weaker than his. He also knew how to use soul battle, and was equally matched with his battle soul. As for his physical strength, he couldn't directly suppress her. Only Lan Xiaoji's firepower was able to overwhelm Lan Lan. Blue Enchantress was even scarier among divine fires of the same level. It was one of the divine fires that Little Hay envied. Whether or not Yang Wu could take down Lan Lan depended on Lan Yao. Bang bang. Yang Wu and Lan Lan were fighting in close quarters. Both of them were giving it their all. Anyone who dared to be careless would be taken down. Yang Wu had ambushed Lan Lan, so he had the upper hand. His fire fist kept attacking, but Lan Yao's firepower kept burning Lan Lan's power. It even seeped into Lan Lan's body. Lan Lan's poison was very overbearing, but it didn't work on Yang Wu. She was completely panicking. It was impossible for her to retreat now. Yang Wu's soul had entered the god's court. If she retreated, she would lose. She could only grit her teeth and fight. Dog slave, I'm going to kill you, Lan Lan roared. She slapped Yang Wu's body wildly. The overbearing power broke Yang Wu's black tortoise battle armor. Just as she thought she had hurt Yang Wu, an Emperor Jade battle armor appeared on Yang Wu's body and blocked her attack. She was shocked. It was also at this moment that Yang Wu's netherworld ice wing blade pierced through her abdomen. Her soul was also implicated and was violently attacked by his battle soul. You? What do you want? If you want to have a good night with me, I'm willing. Why do you have to use violence? Lan Lan said flirtatiously after she was taken down. She still had many trump cards that she hadn't used, but her soul was taken by Yongwu. If she acted rashly, she would be killed on the spot. He didn't kill her immediately, so he must have a plan. Yongwu didn't want to waste time talking to her. He immediately used a controlling spell to take down Lan Lan. Lan Lan panicked. She didn't want to be controlled. She was heavily injured, so she tried to fight her way out of the door. They were in a small space. No matter how noisy they were, the outside couldn't hear them. Only when they destroyed the space would they be able to cause a commotion outside. Yongwu wouldn't give her any chance. He had been waiting for this moment for a long time. He controlled Lan Lan tightly and used more power to take her down. The guards outside the door also felt a slight movement. The two of them looked at each other, and a trace of wretchedness flashed across their faces. It seemed that they both knew what was going on in the room. It was fine as long as they didn't say anything. Yongwu finally took down Lan Lan. This primary Jade Moon Realm woman was even more difficult to deal with than advanced Jade Moon Realm cultivators. It was fortunate that it was him. Anyone else would have died if they dared to resist. Her poison was too terrifying. Anyone who came in contact with it would die. After taking control of Lan Lan, Yongwu quickly learned about her situation. This woman's name was Zheng Shilan, and her nickname was Lan Lan. She was a wanton woman who kept many male pets, and all of them were extraordinarily handsome. After she got tired of playing with them, she would use them to test her medicine. She and her master were both poison masters, and they were constantly researching all kinds of poisons. They belonged to a faction called the Yin School. Yin Bei was a powerful faction in the firmament, and even in the entire firmament, it could be considered one of the top factions. On the other hand, the Poison Hall was only a branch of the Yin School. She and her teacher were in the upper echelons of the branch, and there were even more powerful elders above them. At this moment, they were returning to the Yin School from a void. They had come out to complete the mission that Yin Bei had given them in the void, and they were returning to report it. Not everyone from Yin Bei was returning. Only the branch of the Poison Hall was returning. The firmament was incomparably vast, and there were all kinds of ancient clans and sections. It would be difficult for outsiders to establish themselves in the firmament without the slightest bit of strength. On the other hand, Yongwu dared not act recklessly. He would first take down Zheng Shilan and return to the firmament before finding a way to escape. The Yin School was located in the Mongo Manor of the Luo Prefecture of the firmament. It was located in the northwest of the firmament, far away from the Purple Firmament Hall and the War Tribe. Without a spatial gate, it would be difficult for him to even cross an entire prefecture. The firmament had a total of 1,888 prefectures, and each prefecture had countless cities and counties. Yongwu didn't want to head to the Mongo Manor. Once he was there, it would be difficult for him to leave. This was Shirley's residence, and he had to obtain her permission to leave. However, Shirley wasn't as simple as Zheng Shilan. She was an advanced Jade Moon Realm expert, and Zhang Xian was no match for her. He could only rely on his wits and not brute force. Zheng Shilan and Shirley might seem to be equals, but in truth, Shirley was just going easy on Zheng Shilan. After all, Zheng Shilan's father was one of the upper echelons of Yin Bei. It was a pity that Zheng Shilan was ugly and fond of concocting poison, so she was sent to become Shirley's disciple. Even so, Shirley didn't dare to slight Zheng Shilan too much. Yongwu's mind spun quickly. He only wanted to reach the firmament safely before escaping. He didn't want to be dragged into the conflict of the Yin School. In the end, he felt that it was necessary for Zheng Shilan to display her abilities. After entering the firmament, he would have her talk to Shirley. But before that, he wanted to learn more about the firmament from Zheng Shilan. In the past, it was Yu Huaijin who was the one explaining the situation. Now that he was listening to someone else, he wanted to see if they were consistent. Other than that, he also obtained a map of the firmament from Zheng Shilan. This was extremely important to Yongwu. Humans, devils, fiends, and ghosts often sent creatures to the firmament. After arriving, they had nowhere to go and were unfamiliar with the environment. Thus, a map of the firmament was extremely important. It was also important to the native creatures of the firmament. The firmament was too vast, and without a map, once one lost their way, it would be difficult to return. Because of this, a map of the firmament was something everyone needed. Soon, Yang Wu learned a lot about the firmament from Zheng Xilan. The various prefectures and prefectures of the God Realm would hold various grand events every year. Today, Yin Bei had sent experts into the void to search for rare items. It wasn't just to strengthen the Yin school's strength, it was also to prepare for entering the newly discovered Tomb of the True Gods in Luofu City. This Tomb of the True God was rumored to be the resting place of a powerful rogue cultivator from 100,000 years ago. There were countless inheritances and riches left behind. Whoever obtained the inheritance would have a chance to reach the True God realm. In order to enter the Tomb of the True God, one had to pay an entry fee to the buyer of the Tomb of the True God. Apart from a large number of divine stones, one also had to hand over some items that the buyer was interested in. The Tomb of the True God was of great importance, and Yin Bei men didn't want to let go of such an opportunity. Thus, he ordered his men to search for treasures. Normal God-level experts wouldn't be able to participate in such a grand event. Even people like Shi Lu and Zheng Xilan couldn't participate. Only top-tier overlords could participate. The items they found had to be handed over to the Yin school in exchange for the items they needed. As expected of the firmament, they even put the Tomb of the True God up for auction. Yang Wu exclaimed. Back then, he and Du Shaojing had discovered the Void Palace. It was a palace left behind by a void, true god, and there were many inheritances. In the firmament, a true god would be considered a big shot. In the firmament, they could only be considered a big shot. Only a top-tier, true god could be considered a big shot in the firmament. Experts of this level were considered to be invincible in the firmament. Yang Wu didn't have a plan at the moment. He obtained some key information from Zheng Xilan and asked her to bring him to her residence. Along the way, Yang Wu sensed many powerful auras. They weren't all from the human race. There were also other races. It wasn't unusual for different races to mix together in the firmament. The Yin school was a force that was formed by a mix of different races. According to Zheng Xilan, the leader of the Yin school was a living being from a different race. Unknowingly, Yang Wu had arrived at the divine world by riding on the wind. Chapter 16:10. The God realm was a complete astral boundary. It was different from the mortal realm. The mortal realm had been shattered into pieces, but the God realm still maintained its original appearance. The divine world had tens of thousands of stars shining brightly. Countless starlight gathered in the interface. There were also 3 suns and 6 moons. Boundless xian-qi of heaven and earth fell in this star boundary. Every place was filled with dense vitality and divine aura. It wasn't easy for many palaces to enter the God realm. They had to pass through a special light gate, and every light gate required a fee to use. Shirlio's palace was heading towards Luo Prefecture's Mungo residence, so they had to enter Luo Prefecture's light gate. There were countless light gates in the God realm. Entering different light gates would lead to different areas, and the distance between each gate could be millions of miles. There were celestial soldiers and generals guarding the light gates, so no one could force their way in. The celestial soldiers and generals guarding Luo Prefecture were from the Luo clan, the strongest faction in Luo Prefecture. After Shirlio's palace arrived here, it obediently stopped. After paying the required amount of God stones, it was able to smoothly enter the light gate. Yang Wu couldn't help but wonder if this Luo clan was related to the Luo clan in his imagination. After entering the God realm, the palace couldn't fly anymore. Everyone had to come out of the palace because they had to enter the space gate to teleport to Mungo residence. The palace could be teleported through the light gate, but it couldn't be teleported through the space gate. Just like that, Yang Wu was able to come out of the palace, but he could only obediently stay by Zheng Xilan's side. This was the first time he stepped onto the God realm, and he felt the boundless aura of the God realm surging towards him. He couldn't help but forcefully break through his realm. Not good. Yang Wu's expression changed slightly, but he couldn't care less. He hurriedly circulated the supreme 9 profound arts to absorb the profound energy of heaven and earth to break through. When he was in the transcendent realm, Yang Wu had already reached the peak of the 11th level of the Star Rune Realm. Furthermore, he had used the Star Prayer art to fill all the acupoints in his body with energy, so there wasn't a single spot for him to dig. He had already reached his personal limit. And now, the power of the immortal realm was too rich, and he had no choice but to absorb this power, even if he didn't want to. However, in this situation where the levels were overflowing, and in this place where the great Tao of heaven and earth was complete, he had a kind of involuntary impulse and still made a breakthrough. If he didn't make a breakthrough now, it wouldn't be as simple as just missing a golden opportunity. Instead, his foundation would explode, and the gains wouldn't make up for the losses. When Shirlu and the rest felt the majestic energy converging on Yang Wu's body, they were all shocked. There were over 100 of them, and over 20 of them had reached the divine realm. The rest were either demigods or top-notch saints. They looked at Yang Wu, who had clearly displayed the strength of the Star Rune realm. Why had he caused such a huge commotion? Even if he had broken through to the divine realm, he probably wouldn't have caused such a huge commotion. They were not the only ones in the area. There were many other living beings in the surroundings. They suddenly sensed that someone was breaking through, and they all looked over. The starlight that filled the sky gathered toward Yang Wu, accompanied by dense purple chi, forming the image of a true dragon and black tortoise. There seemed to be celestial chi rising, causing all living things to come to life and auspicious clouds to descend. The image was quite astonishing. What realm is he at? Breaking through to the next realm actually caused such a phenomenon. Could he be at the top-notch divine realm? It doesn't look like it. Those star runes are so obvious, and he's only at the Star Rune realm. This is too exaggerated. This kid is extraordinary. He probably has some kind of divine physique. Otherwise, he wouldn't have caused such a commotion. The divine physiques in the Luo prefecture aren't good, but there aren't many that can compare to him. He seems to be from the Yin school, breaking through in front of so many people in the hall. This kid probably doesn't want to live anymore. The living beings in the surroundings discussed animatedly, and they were all filled with curiosity about Yang Wu, who didn't find a secluded place to break through or in their own faction with the help of their elders. For Yang Wu to break through in front of so many people in the hall was too reckless. It was very easy for something to happen. Lan, why aren't you controlling your human pet? Shirlu frowned and shouted at Zheng Shilan. This wasn't the territory of the Mungo prefecture, but the number 1 prefecture in the Luo prefecture, the Luo prefecture. It was also an important place for the Luo clan. There were many living beings here. It was easy to cause unnecessary misunderstandings. Zheng Shilan replied, "Master, he's my subordinate. Let's protect him. We can't disappoint our subordinates." So you've taken a liking to him. But do you know where this is? Hurry up and take him away, or don't blame me for being impolite, Shirlu shouted. She kept staring at Yang Wu. She felt that Yang Wu was very strange. He didn't seem like a male pet controlled by Zheng Shilan at all. Which male pet would dare to be so impudent? Master, he's my male pet. The stronger he is, the more I like him. Let's wait. It'll be over soon, Zheng Shilan replied. She was now under Yang Wu's control, so of course she would speak to Yang Wu. Looks like you've been possessed. If you won't take him away, I'll take him away. Men, take him away, Shirlu said unhappily, then shouted to the people beside her. In the next moment, someone rushed out from beside her and grabbed at Yang Wu. Any one of them was a god-ranked powerhouse. This was the real realm of the gods. Yang Wu was at a critical point in his breakthrough. It wouldn't be good if he was interrupted. Zheng Shilan blocked that person and shouted, "Who dares to touch him? You must be tired of living." Lan, you're crazy. Shirlu shouted angrily, then shouted, "Take him down." Then, several people attacked Yang Wu at the same time. They didn't show any mercy. Yang Wu was already an eyesore to them. He had a pretty face and dared to break through in public. He didn't put them in his eyes at all. "How dare you?" Zheng Shilan shouted and threw out a divine robe to block the attacks of these people. Furthermore, she continuously used her poisonous palms to block these attacks with all her might. Lan, you've gone too far. Shirlu couldn't stand it anymore. She shouted and attacked Zheng Shilan, suppressing her and not giving her a chance to save Yangwu. She felt that Zheng Xilan was too abnormal. Maybe something went wrong. Zheng Xilan wasn't a match for Shirlu. Her rescue attempt was immediately suppressed by Shirlu. The other living beings' attacks landed on Yangwu. Everyone thought that Yangwu would die without a doubt. But suddenly, a black pot appeared and released a strong aura, blocking all their attacks. Boom! When the attacks dissipated, Yangwu was still standing at the same spot, unharmed. He was crazily absorbing the starlight energy in the sky and the xianqi of heaven and earth that was surging from all directions. His cultivation level was rising steadily, and his aura was quite shocking. Above his head, strange phenomena appeared one after another, attracting more and more living beings' attention. Among them, there was a mighty middle-aged man wearing battle armor on top of the city wall. His eyes shone brightly as he looked at Yangwu. He muttered, "This kid's aura is extraordinary. I wonder where he came from." After a pause, he said, "If he can pass, we can invite him over for a gathering." When the living beings' attacks were blocked, they were completely shocked. Several people attacked at the same time, but they were blocked by a black pot. This black pot's level was not low. "What the hell is this? Wait for me to destroy you," a burly man shouted. His arms suddenly enlarged, and blue veins appeared. Majestic god power gathered on his arm, and he fiercely attacked Yangwu. This was a mid-level god realm warrior. He had the talent of arms, and he could destroy a high-level god realm warrior with one punch. Bang! This god realm warrior thought he could destroy Yangwu, but when his fist landed on the black pot's defensive barrier, he was knocked back by a powerful force. What level of defensive shield is this? Everyone was astonished. Shirlu controlled Zheng Xilan, and she ordered a high-level god realm warrior beside her. "Ashen, take him down." This was a foreign race. When he heard Shirlyo's words, he swung the ghost blade in his hand towards Yangwu. When the saber slashed down, a saber light flashed, and a saber chi swept out. It could break the world. When the saber light landed on the black pot chi field, a huge crow flashed out of the black pot chi field and forcefully deflected the saber. However, after repelling the saber, the black pot's power dimmed. Without enough power to support it, it couldn't keep going. The opponent's strength was not simple. Again. The man called Ashen raised his saber again and slashed at Yangwu. Yangwu, who was sitting cross-legged in the black pot, frowned. He felt that he was in danger. If he didn't block it, he wouldn't be able to. At this moment, Zheng Xilan threw out a poison bomb, and a terrifying poison gas instantly filled the surroundings. Shirlyo's expression changed, and she shouted, "This is God-destroying poison. All of you, get out of the way." God-destroying poison was a poison that she and her disciple created together. Even God Realm warriors couldn't cure it. This poison wasn't simple. Once it exploded, no matter what power it would be unstoppable. Zheng Xilan's move was too ruthless, and it scared away all the surrounding creatures. Only Shirlu wasn't afraid of this. She continuously formed seals, expelling the poison gas from the surroundings. She even spat out poison gas and said faintly, "Zheng Xilan, you're crazy. Master will tear you apart." In the next moment, Shirlu flew towards Zheng Xilan, completely ignoring the poison. She grabbed Zheng Xilan's neck, and at the same time, a soul light flew into her god's court. Shirlyo's eyes flickered, and she shouted, "There's indeed something strange." She saw the pet-controlling curse in Zheng Xilan's god's court and understood Zheng Xilan's reaction. She didn't hesitate to remove the curse for Zheng Xilan. It wasn't easy to remove the pet-controlling curse, and it required an even stronger soul power. Otherwise, it would easily injure the person who was cursed. Shirlu didn't care about this. Even if Zheng Xilan's soul was injured, it didn't matter. It wasn't as if it couldn't be repaired. The pet-controlling curse was quickly removed by Shirlu, but Zheng Xilan's soul was still injured, and it shrank. "Little thief, I've underestimated you. Obediently be my medicine-testing boy." Shirlu attacked Yangwu. Chapter 16:11. Shirlyo's strength was the strongest in their group, and a claw that contained a domineering, poisonous gas reached out towards Yang Wu's black pot. Rip! The black pot's defensive aura was torn apart. The terrifying poisonous claw continued towards Yang Wu. As long as it touched Yang Wu would die without a doubt. It was also at this moment that Yang Wu opened his eyes. It was as if two rays of starlight shot toward Shirlu. Shirlu instantly felt a sense of fear. It was as if a fairy had descended, subduing her. I've tolerated you for a long time. Die. Yang Wu roared and threw out a punch. A straight punch. It was a simple punch, but it was sent out with the fastest and strongest force. This punch contained immortal energy. He wanted to establish his dominance with this punch, so he definitely wouldn't show any mercy. Bang! The fist energy collided with the poisonous claw. After the fist and the claw collided, there was a shocking explosion. Profound energy sputtered in all directions. The gravity of the divine realm was astonishing. Even if they were divine realm life forms, the destruction they caused here wasn't as great as in the transcendent realm. If they were in the transcendent realm, a battle of overlords like them could easily affect an entire city. But here, it only affected a radius of 1 or 2 miles. The pressure here was too strong. It was extremely difficult for divine realm life forms to destroy the divine realm. The poisonous claw was shattered, but the fist energy still flew towards Shirlu. Shirlu's reaction was also fast. Her body flashed, avoiding Yang Wu's punch. She exclaimed, "So strong." Yang Wu retracted his fist. His body flashed with starlight, and an otherworldly aura swept out in all directions, causing people to raise their eyebrows. In the divine world, there were countless geniuses who were sought after and obsessed by others. However, an outstanding young genius like Yang Wu was extremely rare. Only a divine body, cultivated by an overlord-level force, could have such a spirit. Crackle. Yang Wu stretched. His body seemed to have grown a little taller. His joints kept making crisp sounds. His whole body was flickering with blue light. His temperament was quite outstanding. He looked at Shirlu and said, "Thank you for bringing me here. Everything that happened before is written off. Don't bother me from now on. Otherwise, don't blame me for being rude." What big words. You are merely at the Star Rune realm. Even if you have a divine body, don't be arrogant in front of this little sister. Shirlu sneered and said to the creatures beside her, "Gray Mo, take him down. Don't let him escape." Understood. The creature called Gray Mo led several other creatures towards Yang Wu to capture him. This time around, they wouldn't be careless. They directly activated their divine weapons and attacked Yang Wu. These living beings all realized that Yang Wu was extraordinary, so they didn't dare to be careless. Yang Wu poured energy into the Black Walk. A powerful defensive power was released, blocking their attacks. A powerful crushing force was produced, crushing towards them. Not only were their attacks bounced back, but there was also a powerful crushing force. Those who were a little slower to escape were crushed into a pool of blood on the spot. This was a half-step deity powerhouse. His divine weapons grade is so high. The surrounding creatures all had greedy looks. "Hurry up and scram. Otherwise, don't blame me for being rude," Yang Wu shouted. Yang Wu had just arrived in the deity realm, so he didn't want to provoke trouble. It would be best if they could settle things peacefully. Unfortunately, how could Shirlu and the others let him have his way? A pet dares to be so arrogant? Do you think a divine weapon can't do anything to you? Grahamo said coldly. He madly attacked Yang Wu. He didn't think that Yang Wu was powerful. The only powerful thing was that divine weapon. As long as he could break through the defense, Yang Wu would be captured without a fight. The divine weapon released by Grey Mo contained a tyrannical power. It crazily collided with Yang Wu's Black Walk defense. Bang! Bang! The divine weapons continuously collided, creating many sparks. The other creatures didn't stay idle. They didn't get close to Yang Wu. They continuously attacked with their divine weapons. A large flag flung a furious wind at Yang Wu. A bone sword slashed down with a sharp aura. A heavy hammer smashed down like a meteor. A dozen divine weapons attacked at the same time. They didn't believe that they couldn't break through Yang Wu's defense. What a pity. Such a handsome little thief. Shirlu sighed softly. She didn't think that Yang Wu could dodge so many attacks. Unless Yang Wu had a true deity weapon. Unfortunately, the weapon in Yang Wu's hand was a true god weapon. Yang Wu looked at the attacks and muttered, "If you want to die, don't blame me." When Shirlu had brought him back to the palace, he had been suppressing his anger. Now it was time to counterattack. In the deity world, he wanted to keep a low profile. Unfortunately, a man like him was like a firefly. No matter where he went, he would shine in the endless night. Yang Wu poured energy into the black walk. Then, he started to rush forward. His target was Gray Mo. This person was the strongest. Only by killing him could he intimidate the other creatures. Yang Wu was very fast. He activated Wind God's leg to the extreme. With the black walk on his shoulder, he moved forward. The Big Dipper sword appeared in his other hand. He was ready to attack at any moment. Rumble, rumble. The sounds of explosions were endless. However, most of them were reflected. Yang Wu faced the difficulties and approached Gray Mo. Gray Mo also felt Yang Wu coming toward him. He raised his divine weapon and poured endless energy into it. He took the initiative to attack. Kill! Gray Mo roared. Kill! Yang Wu roared as well. He had just broken through, and the boundless power of the stars, as well as the power of his immortal foundation, caused his dantian to boil. The power of all the acupoints in his body was stirred up, and he was like a star exploding. He slashed out with his sword, causing the sky to change color. Yang Wu had been suppressed at the 11th level for too long. He had only broken through after reaching the 12th level. Now that he was at the 12th level, his battle prowess was even more terrifying. With the immortal foundation, his battle prowess was even more powerful. Star-swallowing sword technique. Star-swallowing sword technique. The sword technique and sword Tao became one. Carrying the might of heaven and earth, it slashed toward Gray Mo. Ashen Mo also wasn't willing to look weak. His attack and Yang Wu's attack fiercely collided, creating a boundless shockwave. Even if you can fight above your level, it's useless. The difference is too great. Gray Mo was pushed back dozens of meters by Yang Wu. His body was also slashed with several sword wounds. However, these injuries were nothing to him. Just as he was about to attack Yang Wu again, a cold air suddenly swept over him. It was too sudden, too fast, and incomparably sharp. It cut through his divine armor and slashed at his neck. He reacted quickly and dodged to the side. However, his neck was still cut. Netherworld energy immediately entered his body from the wound, causing his body to stiffen. This was the invisible attack of the Netherworld Ice Wing Blade. After Yang Wu's strength increased, the Netherworld Ice Wing Blade's grade also increased. Its power also increased. It was comparable to a divine weapon and could easily cut through Gray Mo's divine armor. The moment Gray Mo was wounded, Yang Wu's divine sword slashed again. This time, Gray Mo couldn't dodge. His neck was cut off by Yang Wu's sword, and his head was caught in Yang Wu's hand. Gray Mo! Shirlu screamed and attacked Yang Wu. She was strong, but her most domineering aspect was her poison. The moment she attacked, poison gas seeped toward Yang Wu from all directions. Moreover, the poisonous insects on her body also rushed out, attacking Yang Wu's vital points. If it were anyone else, they would have been frightened by this poisonous area. However, Yang Wu didn't feel the slightest bit of pressure. No matter how domineering and powerful these poisons were, they couldn't hurt him. Before Shirlyo's attack could reach him, Yang Wu kicked Gray Mo's body toward her and shouted, "If you still dare to act recklessly, you'll end up like him." Bang! Yang Wu mercilessly crushed Gray Mo's head. The smell of blood pervaded the air, creating a huge impact on the surrounding creatures. Gray Mo was a high-level deity expert, a first-rate expert in the deity realm. Yet, he was killed by this young man in front of them. Moreover, this young man was only in the Star Rune realm. They couldn't believe it. Die! Shirlu screamed recklessly. She clawed with both her claws, releasing an incomparably terrifying power. 9 poison claws. This was the divine skill that made Shirley famous. The entire area was filled with her claw marks, each of which was grayish-black in color. They could tear apart heaven and earth and poison deities to death. In addition, the others in the surroundings had already joined forces to form a formation, sealing off the area and preventing Yangwu from escaping. Let's give it a try. Yangwu simply put away his 2 divine weapons and absorbed the energy of heaven and earth to fight Shirley. He had just arrived in the deity realm, so he wasn't used to the environment. This battle would be a trial for him. Starlight. Yangwu seemed to have turned into a star. Tens of thousands of stars flickered, and the majestic power of the stars turned into meteors and smashed into the poisonous claws. The power of the stars in the deity realm was vast and mighty. He could borrow this power to increase his battle strength. In the transcendent realm, he had broken through to the 12-star runes realm. If he used the power of his immortal roots and his divine weapons, he could definitely fight against a top-level deity. However, in the deity realm, the atmosphere here was completely different. It was heavier and denser, which would definitely affect his battle strength. In addition, the deity realm deities were stronger than the transcendent realm. With Shirley's strength, she could easily fight against a deity realm deity at the peak of the transcendent realm. In this situation, Yangwu couldn't suppress Shirley. It was already very impressive for him to be able to fight to a draw. Yangwu's fist had not been able to break through Shirley's poisonous claws. Instead, it had been broken through by Shirley. Shirley's claws had caused cracks to appear on Yangwu's defenses. Some of the poisonous gas had seeped into Yangwu's body, but it had been blocked by his Emperor Jade battle armor. 2 layers of defense, 2 layers of insurance. Yangwu blocked this wave of attack, but his body was also forced to retreat 300 meters. The poisonous insect followed Shirley's attack and arrived in front of him, biting towards his neck. The poisonous insect's venom was overbearing. Even the Emperor Jade battle armor was corroded. Get lost. Yangwu was greatly alarmed. With a shout, Blue Demoness rushed out. At this moment, Shirley suddenly appeared behind him and grabbed at his head. Brain-severing hand. Chapter 16:12. Even if it was a diamond or iron stone, no one would be able to stop it. Pomegranate's attack was really overwhelming. Yangwu was distracted by the poisonous insects. When Pomegranate's hand came down, he already felt it. Blue Yao Ji's flame enveloped him. His head was smashed back. It was like an iron head technique attacking Pomegranate. One had to say that Yangwu's reaction was too timely. Not only did he dodge Pomegranate's attack, he even counterattacked. Although the back of his head didn't hurt Pomegranate, it forced her to retreat. Blue Yao Ji's flame was too shocking. It was the nemesis of poison. She had no choice but to retreat. You little thief are really hard to deal with. I'm going to tear you apart. Shirley was enraged. She shouted and clawed again. A claw field was formed. Countless poisonous gas surged and wrapped around Yangwu. Even Blue Demoness was suppressed by the poisonous gas and couldn't burn. We don't know who's going to die yet. Yangwu roared as he pushed his firepower with all his might. The Netherworld Ice Wing blade appeared out of nowhere and directly slashed towards the poisonous insects. His feet swung, forming a storm of blades that twisted towards Shirley. Yangwu not only had to protect himself, he also had to counterattack. He didn't dare to be careless. Jinwu Boxing, Tao of Death. 2 martial paths appeared and fought crazily with Pomegranate. Rumble, rumble. The living beings in the surroundings were very satisfied. This young man who just broke through is so strong. Just where did he come from? Those people are from Gate of Yin, right? It seems like they just came back from the void. How come they can't even take down a young man? Is this young man really still in the Starmark realm? Impossible. He must be a guy who is hiding his true realm. These 2 martial paths have some tricks up their sleeves. However, they're quite rough. I don't know how he comprehended them. If he perfected them, it would be incredible. This young man is destined to die. Those poisons are too scary. Yangwu used all of his strength and clashed with the pomegranate again and again. Wounds were left on his body, and pieces of flesh flew everywhere. Even the Emperor Jade divine armor could not withstand the terrifying poison that invaded his body. If it was someone else, they would have died long ago. However, Yang Wu's immortal chi could resist the poisonous gas, and Blue Demonis could also burn the poisonous gas. He was not afraid of the poison. Shirlu had gained the upper hand, but she wasn't happy at all. She never thought that Yang Wu would be so strong. He must have been pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger when they caught him. No matter what, we must catch this thief. Shirlu thought anxiously in her heart. If she didn't take him down, once he escaped, he would be a big problem in the future. Shirlu did not dare to hold back and threw out a black rope. Black Serpent Divine Rope. This was a high-level weapon that contained a weapon serpent. It turned into a huge serpent and tried to bind Yang Wu. Apart from that, she took out a pair of gray claws and increased her attack power. She had to take down Yang Wu as soon as possible. Yang Wu still had the black pot. He hadn't used it yet, as he was using her to train himself. The Black Serpent God Rope was indeed a high-level godly item. It completely ignored Lan Jiaoji's burning and kept closing in on Yang Wu. No matter how Yang Wu tried to dodge, it was still going to grab him. Shirlio's claw locked down the area and did not give Yang Wu any chance to escape. She said proudly, "Little thief, let's see how you escape this time. Then, I will show you how to escape." Yang Wu replied and disappeared from the spot. Void Teleportation Technique. Void Hand. Yang Wu dashed out from Shirlio's lock and immediately counterattacked. Pung pung. Shirlu did not expect Yang Wu to be so slippery. She was stunned on the spot. After Yang Wu's attack succeeded, he did not hold back anymore. He attacked continuously and forcefully suppressed Shirlu. He slashed out with the Netherworld Ice Wing Blade again. His battle soul dashed out and waved the Demon Soul Chain. He did not give Shirlu any chance at all. Just as the Demon Soul Chain was about to hit Shirlu, a soul lamp flew out from Shirlio's divine court. There was a soul flame on the soul lamp, and it instantly burned the Demon Soul Chain. The Demon Soul Chain was a high-level soul weapon that Yang Wu had created. However, when it came into contact with the soul lamp, it was instantly burned by the soul flame. The soul lamp did not stop. It continued to fly towards Yang Wu's divine court. "I will turn your soul into a sky lantern." Shirlu roared viciously. She caught Yang Wu outside the void space. She did not expect Yang Wu to be so difficult to deal with. Now, she no longer held back her trump card. This soul lamp was an extraordinary item. She did not know how many creatures stronger than her had been burned to death. The soul lamp's fire came too quickly. It rushed into Yang Wu's divine court. Yang Wu did not have time to dodge. Yang Wu felt a strong sense of danger. If he could not restrain this soul lamp, his soul would be destroyed. He really could not underestimate any creature in the divine world. If he really resisted, it would be fatal. "Soul Bell, come out." At the critical moment, Yang Wu shouted. A small bell flew out from between his eyebrows and collided with the soul lamp. Pung! The soul lamp was shattered into pieces. It could not withstand a single blow. "What? My soul lamp!" Shirlu shouted in horror. Her soul lamp was comparable to a top-notch divine item. Even a top-notch divine weapon might not be able to destroy it easily. However, it exploded when it was touched by the soul bell in front of her. It could be seen that the other party's soul bell was most likely an item of a higher level. Could it be an item of a true god? Shirlu had a greedy look on her face when she thought of this. However, before she could counterattack, the soul bell suddenly rang. A terrifying sound rang in her mind and instantly shook her soul. When her head exploded, the surrounding deities were all scared out of their wits. Master is dead? Zhang Shalan, who had recovered a bit of her consciousness, said with her eyes wide open. The other living beings were at a loss. Shirlu was their master, yet she had been killed. What should they do? A god-level creature came back to his senses and shouted, "He killed our master. Let's take revenge for our master together." The strength of these creatures was not weak. There were still over 20 god-level creatures and other sage-level creatures. When they joined forces, the power they erupted with was still very terrifying. Moreover, they each wielded a divine weapon. Yang Wu completely did not expect the Soul Bell's power to be so great. He only injected a trace of immortal chi to activate it. As a result, Shirlu was killed on the spot. This soul bell was the divine weapon that suppressed Yu Huijin's soul. He obtained it from the medicine god palace. He had never explored its abilities and thought that it was just a soul weapon. Now, it seemed that he underestimated this soul bell too much. It was definitely a great killing weapon. Since you guys are courting death, I'll send you all on your way. Yang Wu simply steeled his heart. At the same time that he activated the black pot to block these attacks, he activated the soul bell again. The soul bell swayed, and a terrifying soul sound rushed towards those creatures. Dong! Dong! This was like a death knell. It struck the souls of those creatures and directly extinguished their souls. One bell kills souls. Creatures fell from the sky one after another. They were completely unable to withstand a single blow, no matter if it was a human, a foreign race, or a devil race. As long as they had a soul, they could not escape the soul bell suppression. More than 100 creatures in front of him instantly died. Yang Wu's soul power was drained. He felt that he could no longer activate the soul bell a second time. It consumed too much soul power. In addition, more than half of his immortal foundation power was also drained. If he did not have the immortal foundation power, he would not be able to activate this soul bell at all. This also meant that this soul bell was probably a true God-level divine object. His strength was still too weak now. He could only activate the soul bell repeatedly after he stepped into the connecting heaven realm. In order to prevent any accidents from happening, Yang Wu quickly refined the soul spring to replenish his soul power. Then, he quickly fled this place. He did not even take the universal items left behind by the creatures here. This was a huge fortune. What was this fortune compared to his life? He killed people from a school of yin. The people from a school of yin would not let him go. Just as he was running, there were experts rushing towards him from all directions. Yang Wu hurriedly shouted, "Are you guys also courting death?" His voice was mighty and full of dense killing intent. It immediately made those people who wanted to attack him stop. Just now, Yang Wu killed so many people with one move. It was still vivid in their minds. If the other party attacked again, they would probably be killed as well. Yang Wu obtained a short period of time and quickly fled. This was because the density of space was extremely high. His speed was at least 10 times lower than when he was in the transcendental realm. This is the divine realm. Without a certain level of strength, it is indeed too hard to survive. Yang Wu secretly thought in his heart. After Yang Wu fled far away, the other creatures came back to their senses. I'm afraid that Brat has already exhausted his strength. We should chase after him. What kind of soul weapon is that? It feels like a true divine weapon. Could it be that he is a disciple nurtured by some great force? The people who were just killed were from the School of Yin. The School of Yin will not let this go. I'm afraid that Brat won't be able to escape. I think we should have a good chat with him. If he is willing to follow me and offer up his divine weapon, we can still give him a way out. This is the Luo Prefecture. The people of the Luo Manor will not let him escape. Some creatures quickly went to investigate Yang Wu's identity. There were also creatures who chased after Yang Wu again. The weapon Yang Wu carried was too eye-catching. Which divine realm creature did not want to obtain it? That black walk, that soul bell. Both of them were things that made people's eyes red. At this moment, Yang Wu was like a headless fly. He chose a direction and fled. He kept feeling that he was being targeted by some great figure. Even if he used the void shuttling technique, he could not escape the other party's lock. Don't run. I don't have any evil intentions. A voice rang out behind Yang Wu. Yang Wu knew that he could not escape. He could only stop and reply. Then what do you want? A figure quietly appeared in front of Yang Wu and said, I am the general of Luo City's defense. As long as you impart the Void Hall's absolute art to me, I can provide you with protection. Chapter 16:13. On one hand, he didn't have any ill intentions. On the other hand, he wanted to ask Yang Wu for the Void Hall's lost art. He was a mercenary. Originally, he wanted to bring Yang Wu to Luo province because he appreciated Yang Wu's talent. However, Yang Wu killed people from the Gate of Yin. That was fine, but he used the Void Hall's lost art. In the God realm, the Void Hall was one of the top factions. Like the Medicine God Hall, it was an unreachable place. If he could get his hands on the Void Hall's lost art, he might be able to rise to the top. The Void Hall didn't forbid them from teaching their lost arts. On the contrary, anyone who could cultivate their lost art to the peak could join the Void Hall anytime. This was also the reason why this general dared to ask Yang Wu for it. Yang Wu didn't know about these rules. He only thought the general was here for the inheritance. The general was too strong. He didn't dare to face him head-on. He could only brace himself and say, "General, are you mistaken? I don't know any lost art. You might be able to fool others, but you can't fool me. If it wasn't for the void technique, you have been killed. I'll give you 3 breaths of time. If you don't hand it over, I'll have to hand you over to the insect." Although they're a disorderly bunch, they're quite united. If anyone kills their people, they won't let them off. The general said calmly. Yang Wu felt the general's aura locked onto him. If he dared to move, the general would strike like lightning. Just as he was thinking about running, a voice rang out. "General Situ, this kid is fated to be with me. I want to take him as my disciple. Why don't you go back and guard the city and hand him over to me?" A smiling, pot-bellied monk stepped through the air and flew over. The monk's body was round, but his speed wasn't slow. He traveled 1,000 miles with each step. He used the earth shrink ability. "Monk Bujo, don't get involved in this," General Situ replied. "General Situ, he is truly fated to be with me. I can see that his heavenly court is full and filled with Buddhist energy. He is suitable to convert to Buddhism so that he can see the great Tao. We cannot let him go astray." The monk called Bujo said solemnly, "Fine, let's both take a step back. I only want the empty space hall technique. Once I find it in his sky court, I'll give it to you," General Situ replied. He suddenly attacked Yang Wu. This General Situ was a high-level immortal state like Shirlu, but he was much stronger than Shirlu. His attacks were as fast as lightning, and Yang Wu could not react in time. Unexpectedly, Monk Bujo's reaction was even faster. He intercepted General Situ's attack and replied, "Don't hurt my disciple." "Monk Bujo, are you done being crazy?" General Situ said angrily. He was determined to get the empty space hall technique and would not allow anyone to interfere. Monk Bujo seemed to be going all out against him. While blocking General Situ's attacks, he threw out a cloth bag and trapped Yang Wu. Yang Wu wanted to take this opportunity to slip away, but he didn't expect that Monk Bujo would suddenly cast such a move that shrouded the entire area. He didn't even have the time to escape into the void before he was trapped. "He's mine now. Goodbye, General Situ," Monk Bujo said proudly. He grabbed Yang Wu and fled. Bujo's series of actions were too fast. General Situ was helpless. Unless he used his trump card to fight Bujo, it would be hard for him to keep Bujo here. "Damn crazy monk. The next time we meet, I'll fight you to the death," General Situ shouted unwillingly. There were 5 great palaces in the God world, and each of them was a pinnacle-level power. Each of the palaces was capable of shaking the entire God world. One of the palaces was called the Imperial Palace. It was a supreme cultivation ground, and some people said that the emperor of the Imperial Palace was an immortal. Immortal. After becoming a god, immortal became an immortal. An immortal was a supreme existence that surpassed the God realm, the immortality realm. In the past, Great Emperor Jinwu, Great Emperor Wuji, Great Emperor Taishang, and many other talented great emperors came from the Imperial Hall. The Imperial Palace was located in the sacred ground of the Center God Prefecture. It was in the middle of a mountain shrouded in immortal mist. Many jade pavilions were built here, just like the palaces of the immortals. Birds and beasts sang in unison while divine medicines absorbed the worldly energy here. It was a beautiful place. In one of the palaces, a beautiful woman wearing a pink dress walked out like a fairy. Her jade-like feet were exposed. Every step she took didn't touch the ground. Lotuses bloomed beneath her feet, supporting her graceful figure. It was truly wondrous. An old woman and 8 generals kneeled on the ground and sang in unison, "Greetings, Imperial Princess." Imperial Princess. Only the daughter of an emperor could be called imperial princess. She was the descendant of the noblest character in the palace. "Come with me," she said gracefully. "Your Highness, shouldn't we report this to the emperor?" The old woman trembled slightly as she replied. Imperial princess leaving the palace was a big deal. 20 years ago, she suddenly left the palace and caused a lot of trouble. The old woman failed to protect her and almost lost her life. "What's there to report? Can I go out for a breather?" The crown princess grumbled in dissatisfaction. Then she rushed out of the palace. The next moment, a 7-colored butterfly flew out and landed at her feet. She happily thought to herself, "Little Wu is finally here. Haha, I can finally have some fun this time." Unfortunately, before she could leave, a divine voice rang out. "My son, come to the palace for a gathering." Her expression immediately collapsed. "No, I won't. Dyer, let's go." This rainbow-colored butterfly was an ancient mutant insect, and its level was unimaginably high. It had 8 wings, and with a flicker, it could fly a great distance. However, its speed was still far inferior to a few unrivaled experts. A streak of light turned into a bridge and directly led them into a great hall. This was the Imperial Hall. It was a boundlessly spacious residence. A hazy, noble figure sat on a god king's throne in the residence. He seemed extremely domineering. Below him was a man with the presence of the sun and moon. He seemed to be holding up the sky while his feet stepped on the underworld. His presence was no weaker than the man on the god king's throne. These two were apex characters in the god world. They were the Heaven Emperor of the Imperial Palace and the Void Emperor of the Void Hall. Next to the Void Emperor was a young man. He had red lips and white teeth. His eyes were like the stars. He had immortal flesh and bones. He was a natural-born cultivator. After being led to the palace, the princess unhappily said, "Father, what are you trying to do? You won't even let me go out for a breather, and you say you love me? You're clearly putting me under house arrest." "I won't listen." The hazy man on the God King's throne smiled. "Don't be angry, little Jing. Father called you here because I have a great news to tell you." Without waiting for the man to finish, the princess interrupted him. "Father, what good news can there be? Outside of cultivating every day to become an immortal, what good news can there be for you to be so happy? Why don't you let me go out for a stroll? I've been bored out of my wits after staying here for so many years." If the Heaven Emperor was interrupted by someone else, many creatures would probably piss their pants in fright. Who was so bold? Did they not want to live anymore? And was the princess really a princess? How could she speak so crudely? The man on the God King's throne said rather awkwardly, "Little Jing, don't be rude. Greet the Void Emperor beside you first." Only then did the princess glance at the supreme man with his head in the sky and feet in the underworld. She bowed gracefully, "Greetings, Uncle Void." The Void Emperor smiled faintly. "You really are a sentimental person like your father. That's great. Thank you for your praise, Uncle Sukong. If there's nothing else, I'll leave first. I don't want to hear about the matters of you adults." "You guys have a good chat," said the Crown Princess loudly. She turned around and wanted to leave. "Little Jing, don't be impudent. If you continue like this, don't blame me for grounding you for 10 more years," the man on the God King's throne said somewhat angrily. Father, I'll tell Mother that you bullied me," the princess said coquettishly. "Little Jing, listen to me first. I'll let you go out and be quiet for a while, okay?" The Heaven Emperor quickly slowed down. "All right, since Father is so sincere, I'll listen to what you have to say. Let Uncle Void tell you. Uncle has taken in a new disciple called Xian. His talent is unparalleled. He wants to matchmake my disciple and niece to become cultivation partners. What do you think?" The Void Emperor continued the Heaven Emperor's words. Only the Heaven Emperor's daughter could make the Void Emperor act as a matchmaker. The princess's gaze landed on Xian. Xian also looked at the princess. The two of them were outstanding geniuses. Usually, they would appreciate each other. However, the princess said disdainfully, "Let him be my cultivation partner? Uncle Void, you're not joking, are you?" Xian frowned slightly. A trace of dissatisfaction flashed across her face but quickly disappeared. She didn't say anything. The Void Emperor said, "Why would I lie? Xian has an innate, immortal body. I believe that niece isn't bad either. In the future, if we cultivate together, we'll be able to live forever together. Why not?" Then he looked at the Heaven Emperor and said, "Brother, what do you think?" He hoped that the Heaven Emperor would make the decision and matchmake this marriage. If it weren't for the princess's amazing physique and their social status, he wouldn't have lowered his face to talk about this matter. "I can't make the decision. Let's listen to my daughter. If she likes it, I have no objections. If she doesn't, there's nothing I can do. This child has been wild since she was young. She lacks discipline," the Heaven Emperor said calmly. He could see that Xian's talent was amazing, but he wouldn't agree to this marriage just because of that. "It's not impossible for him to become my cultivation partner if he can pass my test." Chapter 16:14. The Luo region was a very large region. Only a tenth of it was occupied by the human race. The other 90% was mostly undeveloped land, or land where the Yao race, the demon race, and the Yao race coexisted. Whether it was the Luo region or the other regions, it was generally the same. There were still many natural treasures that had not been excavated, and countless secret realms were buried in this world. After Yang Wu was captured by monk Buzhou, nothing unexpected happened. The monk seemed to have brought him far away and didn't do anything to harm him. He didn't even speak a word to him. Yang Wu simply did not resist and calmly consolidated his newly advanced cultivation base. The 12th level of the celestial rune realm allowed one's body to transform into a star. One could attract the light of the stars and form an endless amount of star energy to fight. Yang Wu's fated star was the Emperor's star, the Lord of the Stars. He could attract the power of countless stars to cleanse his body. When he reached the final level of the celestial rune realm, he understood that it wasn't simple. Sensing the stars, resonating with them, turning the Dantian into a star, and unlocking endless potential. Yang Wu had already cultivated the great sage physique. Now it could be considered a true divine physique. Each of his meridians was a small Dantian that could contain more stars. If he treated each meridian as a Dantian to contain the power of the stars, then in the end, all the meridians in his body would become stars and unleash an even more terrifying battle prowess. Thinking up to this point, Yang Wu placed even more importance on the star prayer art. He drew in even more astral powers and continuously refined them into his celestial acupoint. After breaking through to the 12th level of the celestial rune realm, both his Dantian and meridians could contain even more energy. What he needed to do was to fill them up and reach their limits. The God realm was indeed the God realm. The heaven and earth profound energy here was incomparably dense, and the star energy was no small matter. It wasn't something the transcendent realm could compare to. The meridians all over Yang Wu's body were constantly filled with energy. It was as if he had eaten an immortal elixir, making him feel comfortable and calm. On top of that, he was also constantly converting this power into immortal root power to strengthen his immortal root. This was the foundation for him to establish himself in the God realm. "Little guy, take it easy. If you make any more noise, I'll suffocate you to death." Monk Buzhou's voice rang out. His Chinkoan bag could hold a living person, but it could not isolate the Xianqi of heaven and earth from the outside world. Otherwise, it would not be able to hold a living person. Yang Wu didn't say anything. He continued to cultivate in silence. Every bit of power he gained was the capital he needed to establish himself in the God realm. "You're ignoring my words, aren't you? I won't be polite anymore. Your talent is not bad. Little fellow, if you acknowledge me as your master, I can give you a way out. How about it?" Monk Buzhou kept talking, but didn't do anything to Yang Wu. After an unknown amount of time, Monk Buzhou finally stopped and directly threw Yang Wu out. He wasn't worried that Yang Wu would escape. He'd imprisoned Yang Wu in the space he'd set up beforehand. Not even a high-ranking divine realm expert would be able to break free in a short time. When Buzhou released Yang Wu, the monk had already grasped the top of his head. If Yang Wu dared move recklessly, Yang Wu would be killed on the spot. Yang Wu didn't act rashly. "Don't kill me, venerable master," he pleaded with panic. "I've said so much along the way, but you didn't say a word. Are you afraid of death now?" Monk Bujo sneered and paused. "Don't pretend to be pitiful. I know you have a divine weapon and can kill me at any time. But before that, I can kill you first. So be a good boy and don't move, or I won't mind sending you on your way." "What do you want, venerable master? It's not impossible for me to become your disciple. Why do you have to be so violent?" Yang Wu softened his tone. "I don't need a disciple, but as long as you do one thing for me, I can take you as my disciple. Now put on the Buddha's mantra hoop for me." Monk Bujo nodded. A golden hoop flew out of his sleeve and put on Yang Wu's head. Yang Wu didn't dare to move, not even with a nether eye swing blade. He found the monk's kasaya was unusual. The nether eye swing blade might not be able to cut him. The Buddha's mantra hoop quickly wrapped itself around Yang Wu's forehead. Then Monk Bujo released him. Yang Wu didn't feel any discomfort. Instead, he had a bad feeling. "Venerable master, this hoop?" Yang Wu asked carefully. Monk Bujo didn't answer. Smiling, he put his palms together and chanted an incantation. Suddenly, the Buddha's mantra hoop emitted a golden light. Golden needles sank into Yang Wu's temple and madly pierced Yang Wu's soul. Ah! The feeling of being pricked by tens of thousands of needles caused Yang Wu extreme pain. He clutched his head and screamed. Yang Wu had been through all kinds of tempering, but this was the first time he'd endured such a needle curse. Even his fighting soul couldn't resist it. The pain was so painful that he felt like he was going to die, but he couldn't die or faint. It was too terrible. Yang Wu's last bit of reason realized that it was Monk Bujo's doing. He cried out involuntarily, "Stop chanting! Stop chanting!" Monk Bujo chanted for a while longer before stopping. He smiled and said, "How is it? Does it feel good to be transported by my Buddha?" This guy was a smiling tiger. He killed people while smiling. Extremely hypocritical. Yang Wu's body was drenched in sweat. He wanted to summon the soul bell to kill him directly. However, he found that he couldn't activate the power in his temple. It was bound by the Buddha's mantra hoop. If he didn't struggle, he couldn't rush out to kill the enemy. Yang Wu felt like he'd fallen into a cold cellar. He felt that something was wrong. If he'd known earlier, he might have had a chance to escape. Now, he didn't dare to escape even if he wanted to. Yang Wu calmed down and asked, "Venerable master, what do you want? If you want the Void Palace's unique skill, I'll teach it to you. We don't have any enmity. Why do you have to make things difficult for me?" "Hee, what's so good about learning the Void Palace's unique skill? My Buddhist sect has countless unique skills. I don't care for them." Monk Bujo laughed. Then he revealed his purpose and said, "Go to the tomb of the true God and help me get all the inheritance and divine items. Not only will I let you go, but I'll also take you as my disciple." "Tomb of the true God?" Yang Wu said with his eyes wide open. Before he came, he heard some news about the tomb of the true God. He didn't expect Monk Bujo to ask him to do such a thing. Yang Wu came back to his senses and said, "The tomb of the true God is very important. What can I do if I go in?" "Don't you know this? The tomb of the true God only allows creatures of the saint realm to enter. Your combat power is heaven-defying, but I see that you're still in the saint realm. With your strength, you'll definitely get some opportunities in the tomb. When the time comes, bring them all out for me." Monk Bujo said. Then he said, "But you can't be careless. The tomb of the true God has opened. If you're not careful, you'll lose your life. Moreover, the top elites of each prefecture have come, especially the Luo clan disciples of the Luo Manor. They're powerful and not weaker than you. If you don't want to die, work harder." Then he told Yang Wu some things to pay attention to and warned Yang Wu not to forcefully break the Buddhist mantra hoop. Otherwise, the Buddhist mantra hoop would tighten and the needle mantra would be even more terrifying. It could make him want to live or die. Regardless of whether Yang Wu agreed or not, he removed the restriction and brought Yang Wu to the tomb of the true God. Anyone could enter the tomb of the true God as long as they paid enough in trance fee. This business was only done by one of the top businesses in the God realm. This business was called Divine Money Lie Business. Divine Money Lie? This name was very straightforward. It was a business that wanted money. Even if a god came, they still wanted it. No one could break the rules. Monk Bujo quickly brought Yang Wu to a bustling ruin. This ruin was just discovered not long ago. It was bought by the divine money lie business. They'd sent a true god expert to open a door of light. This door of light led to the tomb of the true god. They would open the door of light in 3 days. In other words, anyone who paid within 3 days could enter. However, there was a condition. Only creatures below the god realm could enter. Otherwise, they would be killed by the restriction in the tomb of the true god. They had already sent people to check it out. Perhaps the inheritance inside had already been plundered by them. What remained were some hidden inheritances or sporadic natural treasures for everyone to fight over. Regardless, this true god tomb that was left outside was rarely seen. Any deity-level creature would fight over it until their heads bled. Unfortunately, only Saint Realm creatures were allowed to enter. As such, the various great powers would send their most powerful disciples and heirs inside to fight over some opportunities. This also led to a sea of people in front of the ruin. The god realm was too big. Just one state was bigger than the transcendent world. In a short period of time, many factions had gathered. Divine Money Lie had heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals at the entrance of the Door of Light. Someone was shouting, "Each entry is 100,000 high-grade godstones. There are limited entries. First come, first serve. 100,000 high-grade godstones per entry." It was comparable to the price of a third tribulation divine pill. It was no wonder that most of the people here were frowning. Many Saint Realm creatures wanted to enter, but they were scared off by the price. Even those major factions did not dare to buy 1 or 200 entry slots at once. At most, 10 entry slots would be enough. Although that was the case, until now, more than 80,000 saints had bought entry slots. The entry fee was an astronomical figure. Yang Wu looked at the bustling scene and listened to the various discussions. He instantly felt that it was an eye-opener. As expected of the God Realm, Yang Wu sighed in his heart. So many Saint Realm creatures appeared casually. There were also many God Realm creatures. There were also rich merchants in the God Realm. There was also the tomb of the true God that was rarely seen in 1,000 years. It was even more exciting than the transcendent world. "Kid, go buy an entry slot." Monk Bujo urged Yang Wu. Chapter 16:15. Yang Wu's expression darkened. He was a captive, yet the monk wanted him to buy a spot. Wasn't he supposed to buy it for him? Without waiting for Yang Wu's reply, the monk started chanting again. Yang Wu rolled on the ground in pain once more, looking extremely miserable. The surrounding living beings didn't take it to heart. To them, this kind of thing wasn't strange at all. How many powerful beings in the God realm had a bunch of slaves? And these slaves were existences that could be killed at any time. They had no status at all, just like living puppets. Yang Wu was clearly a living puppet in someone else's hands. Monk Bujo stopped chanting. "Do you have the money to buy a spot?" What else could Yang Wu say? He hurriedly replied, "Yes, yes." He swore in his heart that the day he escaped would be the day Monk Bujo became his puppet. Yang Wu obediently queued up to buy a spot. 100,000 high-grade godstones was a huge sum. Even if he was a divine alchemist, it wasn't a small sum to take out. Most of the god veins in his space were low-grade god veins. There weren't many mid-grade god veins. As for high-grade god veins, he got some from the All Saints Temple. It was enough to pay for the 100,000 high-grade godstones. He looks pretty good. Too bad he's become someone else's slave. A beautiful saintess looked at Yang Wu and sighed. Someone else added, "Maybe he's just a good-looking but useless guy." Others were also pointing at him. Some were mocking him, some were sneering, some were pitying him. It made him feel very uncomfortable. In the transcendent realm, he was treated like a god, but in the God realm, he became a slave. It was like falling from heaven to hell. It made him realize that the God realm wasn't a pure land. It could be a place of purgatory. My path to the God realm begins here. Yang Wu held onto his self-confidence and shouted in his heart. He had just arrived in the God realm. It wasn't a bad thing to experience some training. The bad thing was that it would destroy his martial heart. As long as he was given time to breathe, he would be able to break the curse, regain his confidence, and begin his road to greatness. Yang Wu followed the long queue, but who knew that a few people would suddenly cut in front of him? These people were all young, and their faces were full of arrogance. They did not put Yang Wu in their eyes at all. How could a captive dare to be impudent in front of them? Yang Wu raised his eyebrows and shouted at the people in front of him, "You're cutting the line." Those people turned around and glared at Yang Wu. They didn't care about him and didn't take his words to heart. Yang Wu once again said in a deep voice, "Scram to the back. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite." This time, the people in front could no longer hold themselves back. One of them, a skinny young man in purple, pointed at Yang Wu's nose and scolded, "Who do you think you are? How dare you criticize us? Do you want to die?" "I don't want to die." "You're cutting the queue," Yang Wu declared again. "So what? Don't tell me you dare to hit me? You dog slave. Hurry up and get out of here," the skinny young man in purple scolded. In the next moment, Yang Wu made his move like lightning. He was already suppressing a bellyful of anger in his heart, and the other party was still pointing at him and spitting saliva. He really couldn't bear it. Yang Wu grabbed the opponent's wrist and twisted it hard. With a crack, the person's wrist was broken. The physical body of the young man in purple was amazing. He actually had his hand broken. He groaned and punched at Yang Wu's face with his other hand. "Go to hell, dog slave." The young man in purple came from a big force. Although he couldn't be compared with the big forces, his background was not small. Now that his wrist was broken in front of everyone, how could he bear it? Yang Wu didn't wait for him to hit his face. He raised his foot and kicked at the other party's legs. The power of his kick was so domineering that the young man in purple didn't even have time to react before he was kicked. "Oh!" the young man in purple screamed. He covered his lower body with one hand and jumped up on the spot. "Get out of here!" Yang Wu shouted and threw the young man in purple out. The young man in purple was a high-level saint. In front of Yang Wu, he was not worth mentioning. "How dare you hit my junior brother? You're dead meat," a good-looking woman in front of him shouted. She raised her palm and slapped at Yang Wu's face. The flashing holy light contained a very powerful power. However, before she could hit Yang Wu's face, Yang Wu had already slapped her face. Slap, slap. In the blink of an eye, Yang Wu slapped the woman more than 10 times. Even her front teeth were knocked out, and her entire face was completely deformed. "You think you're in the right for cutting the line? Get out of here, all of you!" Yang Wu shouted and kicked the woman away. He also attacked the 3 people in front of him at the same time. Yang Wu was too powerful. The 3 people in front of him had just drawn their weapons when Yang Wu beat them until they were crying for their parents. The surrounding creatures all looked in Yang Wu's direction. They were all shocked. No one thought that a mere living puppet would dare to hit people. Could it be that the puppet's master had a powerful background? Monk Bujo had been at the back. He didn't dare to follow, but he also noticed that Yang Wu was causing trouble. He wanted to chant an incantation to teach Yang Wu a lesson, but he couldn't delay Yang Wu from buying a slot. He could only endure it. "Kid, don't play any tricks. Otherwise, I'll make you suffer for 7 days and 7 nights. Monk Bujo transmitted his voice to Yang Wu. Yang Wu responded, "I didn't cause trouble. They cut the line. The slots are limited. If I can't buy a slot because of them, how am I going to explain it to you?" Monk Bujo was speechless. Fortunately, the young people who were beaten didn't seem to be much. The power behind them shouldn't be too scary. He didn't take it to heart for now. After those young people were beaten up, they left dejectedly. But before they left, they were filled with incomparable resentment. They would certainly not let Yang Wu have an easy time. Yang Wu pretended not to see it. This was the effect he wanted. Only by calling for reinforcements could he give Monk Bujo a headache. The others didn't dare to underestimate Yang Wu anymore. Instead of silently waiting in line to buy a slot, there was no limit to the number of slots at all. It had always been said that it was only the last 1,000 slots. In the end, he sold 10,000 slots today and still didn't stop. Yang Wu spent 100,000 high-grade godstones to buy a slot. This slot only recognized the number of the jade, not the person. Yang Wu looked at the jade in his hand. It was number 99,999. What an interesting number. Such an inferior piece of jade is selling for 100,000 high-grade divine stone. What a scam, Yang Wu thought in his heart. Yang Wu returned to Monk Buzhou's side and obediently handed the jade to the monk. Monk Buzhou took it and weighed it in his hand. He smiled and said, "Not a bad number. It means you can definitely get the true god's inheritance for me. Good luck. When you come out, I'll reward you well." He paused and said, "But don't cause trouble for me. Otherwise, I won't forgive you." "Don't worry, I'm under your control. I can't cause any trouble. If it weren't for people bullying you, I wouldn't fight back." "You dare to bully my boss? Why do you say that?" "As the saying goes, look at the master before beating a dog. Aren't they bullying you when they beat me?" "Huh, that's a good description." Monk Buzhou looked satisfied. "Protector, it's that bastard who beat us up." Suddenly, a voice came from nearby. He saw that the several youngsters who had been dealt with by Yang Wu had returned, and they had brought along 2 guardian elders. A faint smile appeared on Yang Wu's face when he saw them return, but quickly disappeared. He couldn't fight Monk Buzhou, but what if someone else did? Even if he couldn't kill Monk Buzhou, it would be good to give him some trouble. The 2 elders that the other party had brought along were also at the divine level, and their vital energy was rather vigorous. They locked onto Yang Wu, and at the same time, looked at Monk Buzhou, who was beside Yang Wu. Their pupils contracted slightly, and a hint of wariness flashed across their eyes. One of them asked, "Are you Master Buzhou?" Monk Buzhou glanced at him and laughed. "Since you know me, why don't you get lost? Do you want me to send you away?" Yang Wu thought, "Is this monk so famous that even these people are afraid of him? Master Buzhou, your servant beat up our people. Please hand him over to us." The other person said in a neither servile nor overbearing tone. They recognized Monk Buzhou. He was an incredible immortal who could fight above his level. However, they weren't afraid of him. The only thing they feared was that they weren't as strong as Monk Buzhou. "Tai Ching sect. I might be afraid if your sect master was here in person. Now get lost," Monk Buzhou said domineeringly. Tai Ching sect was a first-rate sect in Luo State. It was slightly weaker than Yanbei, but it was still a sect with a top god. It wasn't a sect that ordinary people could mess with. It was also because of this that they bullied Yang Wu, who knew that Yang Wu was so much stronger than them, so they were humiliating themselves. "Master Buzhou, do you really want to be enemies with our Tai Ching sect?" The protector of Tai Ching sect said in a low voice. "You talk too much. Do you really think I don't dare to beat you?" Monk Buzhou was obviously a little angry. Buddhist chi surged. The 2 protectors of Tai Ching sect took a few disciples and retreated. They couldn't fall out with Monk Buzhou. "All right, we'll report this matter to the sect. You're on your own." The protector of Tai Ching sect left behind a threat and retreated with his people. Monk Buzhou narrowed his eyes and looked at Yang Wu. "Are you disappointed?" Without waiting for Yang Wu's answer, he chanted the incantation again. Yang Wu rolled on the ground and screamed again. However, Yang Wu didn't have to endure the pain this time. The soul bell enveloped his fighting soul and didn't hurt him at all. He was just pretending. "Use these golden needles to train my fighting soul," Yang Wu shouted. Under the protection of the soul bell, his fighting soul fought back against the golden needles. Bang bang.